Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time with Jeff,
Let's go.
Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It is Monday, July 15th. It is a new week, new opportunity to be great, fellas. And we had some things that transpired today, transpired over the weekend. I was out last week. You guys helped out, did a great job. I tuned in. I was checking in with the people. Appreciate you guys for subscribing. Because we're almost at 8.5? 8.4?
We're almost at 10. We're like 1,500 away.
Hey,
we wanted to get to what, 10 by the beginning of the season or by training camp?
By training camp, we've got like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're on pace. You know what? We're very, very thankful for the support. I'm happy to be back. Went up north in Michigan for a couple days, and I'm back, man. I was, I had that like Booner had where you're not on the show, but I was watching you guys, and I'm like, see, this is why we have the fellas, because they just held it down, did a great job. Even though I was listening live and I was live disagreeing with some of your takes, but hey, you know what? You guys did a great job. Even though I disagree with some of them, but hey, I did a great job.
I disagree with almost every take that you have, so I think it's perfectly fine. I'm glad you had a great vacation, though. It's time now. I've gone on vacation. Jeff's gone on vacation. Klotz was on the vacation for the 4th, and the boys, now it's like football season. We do have a getaway, a team getaway to Nashville in a couple weeks.
Last hurrah.
And then training camp. We're going to be at training camp for like 3 or 4 days, and we're just head down, go all the way until February, until the Super Bowl. I can't wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah, I mean it's coming pretty quickly. I mean we're already halfway through July. We're working our way to training camp. Don't do that, Lucas. Don't do that.
Say anything.
Don't do that. But we're almost to training camp, and then after that, fellas, I mean we're rolling. Preseason, regular season, Lions football. I got one more episode left of Receiver. I was checking in, trying to get through it. Yeah, I still haven't finished it. I know most people have, but. So that's like my only fix right now for anything Lions related. The other thing, Kelvin Johnson getting inducted into the Ring of Honor, which we'll talk about in about 12 minutes, which is big time. My favorite player of all time, especially in a Lions uniform. But fellas, it's coming, and I'm excited. I cannot wait. I cannot. I just can't. I want football now.
I know, dude. You know what? This is my favorite too. I know it is like crazy busy for us. Like last year, it's like 7 days a week. At least for me, full-time job, and it's like 6 a.m. to midnight. From August until February, and it is the best time of my life. Like that 9-month span, I live for it. I do want to throw this out there real quick though. Home Run Derby is about to start. If anyone wants to get in on the bet real quick, if you want to ride with me, I'm on Adolis Garcia and Gunnar Henderson. Both of them. I boost 2 different apps, boosted on both of them, and got them both at like plus 700. So come. If you want to ride, come ride. They're about to start right now. They're doing like some like national anthem or something. But go get the bets in right now. Gunnar Henderson, Adolis Garcia. Let's go, baby. Now let's talk some football. Sorry.
That one was worse, Lucas.
Yeah, I would say so.
But hey, I see you ball though in the chat. Lions are the best O-line in the NFL. We'll get to that. ESPN executive scouts, coaches, they come out the rankings. You guys broke down what safeties and tight ends last week. I checked that out. Today we're going to do quarterbacks and offensive line. They did both of them. So we'll get to see where Jared Goff ranks, Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, and we'll get to kind of evaluate that. We'll also break down Pride of Detroit's article, which they asked the question, which I thought we'd have fun with this one. Who will be second on the Lions in sacks? That one, that was a good question. I believe we probably mentioned it, but now I want to get a straight answer from the fellas and from the chat. Who will be second?
Can I answer 3 different answers?
In sacks. What do you mean by that? Tied?
I feel like that'd be all the above.
I've got 3.
Like there'd be like a multiple choice A, B, C, D, and then D says all the above, and you circle that one. Like, gotta pick one.
A little bit of a cop out.
Yeah, gotta pick one.
He's like that. Houston and Aleem will be tied.
You guys know the
one of them will, fellas.
You guys know the way I roll.
No. We'll find out today. Can't wait for it. But like I said, a lot of things happened over the weekend. I was gone. I'm chilling. I'm up in Glenny, Michigan. Yeah, Glenny, Michigan. It's like 3 hours away. Yeah, it's a nice little town. Very remote. There was a little lake there. There was a little lake house, a little Airbnb. Me and all my friends were at, and we just kind of hung out. I didn't really check social media at all. But then something came across my timeline that Donald Trump was shot at and hit in the ear. And that was like the biggest. I probably sat there for probably an hour and a half just trying to find more information because in my lifetime, that has never happened. I think the last president to get shot, I believe, was Reagan, and he was shot up close. And he was in the hospital for I think it was like a week. But Donald Trump is shot at, by the way, and that transpired. One person lost their life. Two, I believe others are in critical condition. I don't know. I haven't checked lately. But fellas, that is wild. I mean, I know this country is divided, and I understand it. We're not even going to get political. It's more just the shock of the fact that even at a political rally in which people are allowed to do that, Donald Trump with Secret Service and the security and law enforcement there, they just couldn't, I guess, identify a person 400 feet away on a rooftop with an assault rifle. I don't, and that's
people were screaming too. Like
it's like what are we doing? No matter what side you're on, it doesn't matter who it is. That's messed up. I mean, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me too. I've never been like a political person, and I've always gotten into arguments with people like in family and friends because like it's like a different argument for me. It's like, don't talk to me about politics. I'm okay. Like I don't want to get in an argument about it. That was like, like when you're like going to school when you're growing up and you're like looking through history books and pictures, like you never like you see the pictures, but you're never like, oh, did this actually, like obviously it happened, but you're like, you can't imagine going through those times. That's like something where it's like a big point in like American history or U.S. history where it's like that's going to be in history books. That's going to be talked about forever. Like our kids are going to talk about that and learn about the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. So like I thought it was a crazy situation. Like my first thought was maybe this actually, like I'm not a political person, but like I think anyone that lives in the country knows it's like pretty separated at times. Maybe like that event brings people together. I don't know. So it's a crazy situation, man. It's like a human, you know what I mean? It's like people taking, the human aspect out of it, being like this is a politician, but not like he's a human. Like it's the same thing if Biden was shot at. It's like, yeah, maybe some people don't like him. He's a human, and it's like no one wants to see people get shot or attempted or anything like that. That stuff freaks me out anyways, like death and stuff. So like I mean, we all don't like death. I did put a tweet out there. I deleted. I'd never delete tweets. I deleted a tweet. It just got too. It was supposed to be like not a fun joke. Obviously, it wasn't a fun day, but it was just a Dan Campbell tweet. Like it wasn't. I didn't think it was a hurtful tweet at all. But I would start just getting unfollowed. People just started unfollowing me, and I'm like, dude, I'm not a political guy. I'm just gonna take this down. I'm not getting into this mud.
And thank God it didn't hit him, because if that did, dude, oh my God. The country, if Trump got hit on live television in the back of the head with an AR, like half of the country would have just been storming. It would have like been January 6th all over again, probably a little bit worse.
Yeah, that's it. That's why it's just like it has nothing. And again, I know people are like, well, and like you, Booner, I'm not a political person, and trust me, I understand that. But this is like beyond politics. Like this is just like it to me. It's just absolute blasphemy. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Again, the fact that this man, I see people kind of putting different distances in the chat. I don't know the exact distance. I believe it was 400 and something feet. I could be wrong on that. But really, my thoughts and prayers are with the victim. Like, someone died going to a political rally. Like think about that for a second. I mean, even the people that are in politics now, you're in danger going to a political rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, which, I know no one's heard of it here, but it's just like, anywhere. Macomb County, Michigan, it could have been anywhere. That's what's it's just disturbing.
It's just sports. Like it's the same thing with the situation, like sports. Like sports brings people. That's why I love sports so much. It brings people together. Obviously, like politics may never do that, but like a situation in history like this, where it's like, hey, we're all humans here. Like, yeah, we might have differences, and I don't know even what politics you guys are. I don't know what any of us. We don't ever talk about it, but it's like we're all just humans and friends and like family, dude. So it's like we don't need to fight. Like, is it really that big of a deal to kill someone? No, like that's crazy. Like that's why sports, to me, it brings people together, and it's so like that's what life should be about. That's what, I'm always a happy person. I do get mad in sports arguments, but you guys know, an hour later you guys call me and I'm the happiest person in the world. I forget about it. So it's just like, why doesn't everyone just be happy and love you? ELE, just everybody love everybody. How about that? Maybe I'll run for president. I'll run with the slogan ELE.
I don't know about that. I'll stop you there, but hey,
Booner 2024, the Booner path 2024.
Yeah, we're not going to spend all show on this, but let's be real. Like this is we talk sports, but like this affects everybody. It's not just we're a sports show, but this affects everybody, and it's worth mentioning. Like I said, prayers are with the victim's family and the people that are recovering, because it's that's absolutely awful. And people like us, we get to talk sports, and we're kind of like closed off from the realities of the world sometimes, but not really. I mean, all these things affect us. But let's move on here. We have plenty to get to.
Go, boys.
One of those things being that the Tigers have won 8 out of the last 10 games. Yeah. And at the same time, the Pistons Summer League has started. I mean, you know what? We're ramping up. We're getting a little hype for everything. The Tigers are playing well the last 10 games. Lions football's getting here. The Red Wings made some moves.
Stevie bye.
It's a good time. If Mike was here, we'd probably talk shit to him. But hey, the Tigers are red hot right now, Boone. Red hot.
Tigers look good. 8 of 10. Massive walk-off on Saturday night as well, like a huge walk-off win with Gio Urshela. I keep asking the question to you fellas. I think I put it in the group chat set. They might be back. They just won the series versus the Dodgers. They won like 3 straight series now, 8 of the last 10, and like the bats are heating up, pitching's going. Obviously, you have like 2 of the best pitchers in baseball. They just might be back. Now you're at the All-Star break. I saw a stat that it was like, this is the highest winning percentage of the Detroit Tigers since 2016 at the halfway mark of the year. That's big time. Maybe, and I don't know the people in the chat, you guys don't, we don't talk baseball a lot. The only thing I know about baseball, Illich doesn't like to spend money. Maybe he sees all the people, because there was like sold out crowds this weekend. I text you guys. I was like, I want to go to the game. All of you boys are busy. Sold out crowds all weekend. Maybe Illich looks at it and goes, hey, maybe we should spend some money. Maybe we'll get some people in the stands here. Hey, let's do it. Let's get this thing rolling a little bit.
It's a nice thought, though.
It's good
to
see.
It's good in theory. Yeah, no,
let's get the stadium rolling, huh?
Yeah, again, we don't talk Tigers, but man, they're worth talking about. I mean, 8 out of 10 games. Right now, they're the hottest team in their own division, at least.
Yeah.
8-2 over the last 10 games. The only team close is the Twins, 6-4. So again, kudos to the Tigers. And I know you just mentioned it. Guys are connecting. Bullpen's playing well, and that's all you can ask for. So we got to get out to
young guys too.
That's what we plan to, at least on Sunday. I got back too late, but we wanted to catch the Tigers game. I know the fellas weren't able to go, but man, we got to go now. Now we're incentivized.
We should do like a crunch time. We should look like a couple weeks in advance and do like Planet so where some people that listen to Crunch Time are able to get tickets and go as well. And we could do like a small meetup or something, whether it's 5 people, 20 people, 50 people, and we can get a nice group and just, meet some of the people that watch the show. That'd be sweet before the Lions season.
Yeah, I'm absolutely down with that.
Maybe they'll let us do a show at Comerica. Huh? You guys already know I always bring that up, doing a show at one of the stadiums.
I just remember when Adam wanted Al Avila fired and went to the game and had a sign.
Yeah.
They basically banned him from attending games, or at least from being there. I mean, they're soft, but hey, Tigers BR. Yeah, hey, Tigers BR. We do love the Tigers. So
should hit the dock.
No beef. That was just with Adam Baydoun. But let's continue. Calvin Johnson. He was told today, I believe, by Kay Adams. Or no, not Kay Adams.
No.
He talked with Kay Adams, but was told by Mike Disner and Lomas Brown that he was being inducted into the Lions Ring of Honor. Yes, the Lions Ring of Honor, which Lomas Brown was inducted. What was that, last year or the year prior?
I believe last year.
Last year, Lomas Brown was inducted. And now Calvin Johnson, rightfully so, is being inducted into the Ring of Honor. I mean, he's the second greatest wide receiver to ever play the game. And he repped a Detroit Lions uniform his entire career. Despite, situation he was in wasn't ideal. But still, my favorite Lion of all time. I know Barry's right behind him, but no doubt my favorite player. We're going to play this video of him kind of sharing his thoughts on it. And this is from the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams. And then we're going to kind of weigh our opinion on this. And we'll talk more about when it is, because just real quick, I'll mention it. It's when the Lions play the Seattle Seahawks, which
I love that. That means you have to win.
Yeah, there's a little more of an incentive there. In my, you're playing on the night where a team just has your number. I think that was rightfully scheduled, but
teams don't lose those games. Teams don't lose Hall of Fame games.
You can't. I mean, you can't. You can't. All right, let's play this clip real quick, and then we'll react to it. But let's get it up here. Here's again Up and Adams. Kay Adams talking to Calvin Johnson.
About that.
Man, I mean, you saw me up there, man, as a tearjerker. I mean, I don't like surprises for that reason, man. You might catch me in my emotions. And they definitely did, man. definitely had shared a tear because I didn't see it coming. I wasn't expecting it, and it's just an honor. It is to be celebrated by my peers and by the city of Detroit. That's the honor. That
you got into the Hall of Fame. What makes Detroit honoring you a little bit special?
I've been in so many different cities, and Detroit, they have a true fan base, not just for football, for baseball, for hockey. They're just Detroit fans through and through. And if you come to the city and you put down and you work your tail off, they're going to love you, and they pay attention. And that's what I love about them. They pay attention.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
You know what, Calvin?
I love Kelvin Johnson.
We've all met Kelvin once, right? I think we all have.
Yeah.
I never have met Kelvin Johnson.
Oh.
I'm the only one I think that's ever worked at where we worked before or currently in Detroit sports media that has never met the GOAT.
Great guy. Great guy.
Yeah, make that happen.
Extremely humble.
Dude, one of the most down-to-earth human beings. I mean, and for me, I was starstruck. And I hate to sound like this, but there's a section of people in like tears that I get starstruck, like absolutely struck. Like you'll see, certain individuals that might have some clout or some fame, and you're like, wow, that's him. And then you kind of but Calvin, I'm like that's my favorite player of all time. I have his jersey. I mean, and then I met him, cool guy, huge hands, huge hands. So again, he deserves this. I'm so happy that finally he's being inducted into the Ring of Honor. I think it's so well deserving. And the fact that Mike Dissner was behind the reunion, I mean, that's kind of slept down a little bit because he's been Brad's right-hand man. And he is the one that kind of orchestrated the reunion along with Sheila and the rest of the organization, Rod Wood, but getting him back into the organization. And he's been very, very supportive and going out to games and supporting them, even through the run last year. It is so good. It says a lot about a franchise when its great players come back to support that current team. It just does. I mean, you look around when you go to a Lions playoff game, now you could say that, and you see Eminem, you see Barry Sanders, you see Calvin Johnson, you see all these celebrities, former Lions players that are there. I mean, Lomas is on the call. He's with Dan Miller, which is even better. It just makes you feel, and we've already kind of went through this, fellas, with the Lions and the brand new Lions, but it really does feel like they're a serious organization, and now you have the backing of all-time greats, which
they finally
stamp of approval on your organization.
It was only a matter of time. I mean, Kelvin was a guy that he had 11,000 yards, I think 83 plus touchdowns, and just one of the all-time legends. And you could tell that if a player like that isn't getting treated right by the team that, especially where the state of the Detroit Lions was, he gave everything he had to that team, and then they didn't really pay it back to him. And he's a guy that preaches paying it forward. Kelvin's one of the most down-to-earth athletes of his tier. And to see him be able to get back into the organization, work it out right, Jeff, I agree 100% to what you're saying.
There's a thing years ago, Calvin Johnson should have been inducted into, the Pride of Lions long ago, in my opinion. He's been retired for so long now. And the fact that it took this long, in my opinion, he's already been inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. He's already got his gold jacket and he's not in the Pride of the Lions. I think that's crazy itself. But honestly, a lot of the credit, seeing what Sheila and Dissner have done to be able to kind of turn this around, I think it speaks on how, Jeff, your point, the brand new Lions, how they've been able to turn around just the organization as a whole. You've seen so many rebuilds come through Detroit, and it's been the same thing. It's been let's try and just bring in, buy players, bring guys in. And it's no, it has to be the culture. That's what it's like with the 49ers. You remember watching some of these 49ers games the last 6 years, all of the former guys, Jerry Rice being back there, Joe Montana, all of these guys being back in the stadium during not just a NFC championship game, but also a wild card game or just a divisional game. Or even a big regular season game. You see those big names there. You see them in the Patriots, with the Ravens. Any kind of big team or big organization that's very successful, you see it as a culture as a whole, not just on the football field, but off the field as well. And I think that's when we saw the change in Detroit here from the same old Lions to the brand new Lions. I think it comes from off the field, the culture in the front office and in the offices, just being able to interact with old players and stuff like that. I think it's kind of special to see. And I think it's obviously well-deserved for Kelvin to be able to get that. I mean, growing up, it was just, for me, football, to get me into football was Kelvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford. So those two guys, like anytime, like Jeff, you're talking about starstruck. If I see either one of those guys, I've never met either one, I'm going to be like shaking. Like, what's going on? We've met so many people over the last 2 years doing what we do. And like, I have never met those guys, but I know maybe Dan Campbell would be on that list too. I'm sure like Dan, I'm going to be like, whoa. But like, there is a list of guys, and those two guys got me into football, and to see Calvin be able to get everything he deserves and just back with the organization and doing events in Detroit, like the one he did today with all of this, you know, Randy Moss, he brought Randy Moss to Detroit, like unbelievable. It's unbelievable. He is very well deserved.
Yeah. That kind of goes, understated. I mean, even his golf outing, like Randy Moss attending, Kay Adams, and he brings media to cover the event, and it just brings more attention to. And now he didn't know that he'd be inducted into the Ring of Honor, but just bringing attention to Detroit, man. And he lives here currently, still does, still supports the Lions even through all that. After they kind of fixed the relationship. And I see this comment from Jeff in the chat. I mean, look at the Red Wings. When you walk in, it's all legendary players.
Yep.
I mean, the Red Wings are a good example of that. WTF, stop yelling, Boone. The Lions as an organization really fucked up to wait this long. Sheila's making the moves and mending relationships. Yeah, 100% agree. Sheila,
if the organization 10, 15 years ago when Stafford kind of came in, if they would have said, hey, let's figure out this culture thing now and let's like make sure everything is right and intact outside of the football field, I think they would have done a lot more winning with Matthew Stafford. That's just my opinion. I like if Sheila would have taken over and the mindset she has where it's like it starts with off the field in the front office, everything would have been different. Like that's how I kind of look at what's happened. So yeah, like that's exactly what it is. It's then crazy.
Maybe you can put him on the Lions Mount Rushmore. Then maybe you'd have a point there to put him on the Lions Mount Rushmore. Stafford.
Yeah, well that's the thing. It's like it's so hard to blame. Like I'm not going to blame him. I'm not going to blame Kelvin Johnson. I'm not going to blame anyone from those teams. I'm going to blame the front office and the coaches. I'm blaming the coaches in the front office until the day I die.
I'm with you, Boone.
And the reason is because guess what? Matthew Stafford left instantly. And guess what? With the right coaches in the right front office, what did he do? Oh, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. That man won a Super Bowl year one outside of Detroit.
Yeah, I mean
then Sheila takes over and things turn. It's crazy.
I think it's just proof. I mean, look at this current regime. I mean, Brad Holmes is like the first person, and Dan Campbell. Those two are the people you mentioned when you talk about a turnaround. Like, yeah, the ownership top down, but yeah, like it matters. If you put Matt Patricia in Dan Campbell's seat and Bob Quinn back in where Brad Holmes' seat is, yeah, this team probably wouldn't be as successful. And like that's how that works. You need good coaching, you need a good front office. Lions got both, and they have a damn good team because of that as well. But I see this, and this is another person that I do think their time should be coming. And Ubaldo says Herman Moore has not made the Pride yet, but with this regime, I know it will happen. Yep. He's probably going to be one of the more. He should be more the next guy to.
He should already be in. Rent was due like probably a decade ago for him to get in.
How many people did they put in before Sheila? Like did they just not put people in for a while?
I'd have to see who's even in there. Like I doubt even guys like Spielman are in there. I could be wrong, but it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, no, Herman Moore. And by the way, Herman Moore, part of the Booner path, confirmed.
Yeah, and well, Herman Moore. Yeah, I mean he's go watch that film. That guy
came out of his mouth.
Especially that was before they were throwing it 40 times a game too.
Yeah, he was incredible. So he was even coach. Herman was terribly underrated. And I know Spielman's in there, to Steve's point. Barry's in there. Lomas is in there. Cool. Calvin's going to be in there.
Well, Spielman got in 2 years ago. Oh, look at that. Who did that? Probably Sheila.
Maybe Spielman himself.
That is a good point.
I'm going in. He's like, Spielman, I don't need any publicity, but I'm going in the Ring of Honor.
Sheila hires him, and she's like, hey, what's your first course of action? I'll put myself in the Ring of Honor. She's like, oh, okay, go ahead.
I mean, he's the best linebacker in the franchise's history, and it's not even close. It's like a large gap.
There was an influx of guys in the Ring of Honor post Sheila. I mean, yeah, you're spot on there. Because that matters. I mean, honoring that puts you closer to a legit organization. They are now, but after she got in and started doing that, it's like, okay, this is what organizations do. You honor good players, guys that sacrifice their bodies for your organization. It's typically what happens. And I'm glad Calvin's in there. Megatron, he's special. He truly is. I wish they could just drop him on this roster right now. They need a true X.
Oh my gosh, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah, he's perfect.
You guys watched that film I sent you, that kid out of Arizona? I can't think of his name right now.
You send us these guys that are, by the way, for those who don't know, for context, Lucas will drop prospects, just guys that are on the up and coming in our group chat. This is how much he loves ball. I mean, he'll drop random ass names, guys film and go watch this film, watch this footage right now.
I'm telling you, I can't think of the kid's name. He literally looks like Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he can do everything. He can do everything. Like when he runs routes and he runs with the ball in his hands, he looks like he plays at Arizona. He had like 1,200 yards last year, and I didn't know who he was. And then like his hands, he has like extremely natural hands. I wish I could remember his name. It's a crazy name.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about him probably next, probably April, May. We'll probably talk about him at some point. Sure, wide receiver will be discussed.
Real quick, the pride of the Lions, and I don't know, and someone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't have a Ring of Honor or the Pride of Lions. Maybe they did before, but it wasn't called the Pride of the Lions. Started in 2009. If that tells you anything. And they inducted 12 people. Instantly 12 players got inducted. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 since 2009 after they inducted 12. So like they didn't even have a ring. The Lions didn't even have the Pride of the Lions. I don't know if they had a different Ring of Honor, but they didn't have that until 2009, which is great. Like I think right there shows you how kind of the organization was ran if they never had a ring, even a Ring of Honor for that long.
Hey, it's Teteroa McMillan. That's his name. Crazy. They call him T-Mac. Remember him. Remember him. I would be surprised if he wasn't a top 20 pick next year. He's like 6'4".
Can you just make an Excel sheet and just keep all the players you send to us?
I should. I really. And then that'll help me out long term come draft time next.
Well, long term, like 10 years down the line, if they bust or they're good, you just put green, red, like mark them so we can see like. and then when we're like big time and we have like 1 million subs, you're our insider. We have like a list like Klotzy's like 1,102 and like 2,000.
Okay, I'll keep my the Kuiper board. He just has the note.
Klotzy board. I mean, you even have this comment in Indigenous Ways. I live out here in AZ, and you're talking about is fucking nasty. You're not wrong, bro. Yeah, that's what this man does.
Telling you.
Oh, by the way, the college football came out today. None of us got it.
Well, it's early release.
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah, and my thing is too, bro, I don't have the new console. Like, I'm gonna get it, but I'm not in any rush to get it. Like, it's not gonna change me getting it now compared to in 2 months. Like, I'm gonna get the game, but I'm not in a rush. Like, I'm happy the game's back, but I don't even play video games that much as it is.
Can I ask the chat if I did college football streams, would people watch? Like, I'm actually interested because I need to get this. I need to get a new system first of all, and then I need to get the game. So I have a little, and I have to get a little streaming set up. But I will stream for the people like twice a week or something. If they're like, yes, Booner, we need you playing football, I will do it. But I just need to know, like, if I go buy a system and no one shows up to watch and I have 10 people watching me, I'm not going to do it.
Well, you got it. It's gonna if it starts off slow, Boone, build a fan base just like this.
Yeah,
it's a different avenue. I'll stream with you too. That'd be a good time.
I will agree with you,
a couple times
Lucas, a week. That I will get it just because I have to get it. I mean, it's out. I'm going to get it. Here's Johnny. Hell no, but best wishes. I'm going to get it, but I'm not paying. How much is it for an early release? I mean, you're paying like
$100.
Like, dude, I'll just wait 3 days. I mean, what is it? 4 days. I'm
buying or Jeff, you could have just paid the $70 and got it today. It was just you have to pre-order it.
Oh,
that's all it was.
Damn.
It was. Yeah, it was.
I thought it was the deluxe edition. I thought.
No, I don't think so. I looked it up today, and it was like you can buy the $70 one, and it's
either way.
I think
whatever.
Could be wrong, but
I'll play it. I'll definitely be playing it. I'll be like a mini Ben Johnson, be an OC, work my way up to a head coach.
Yeah, I'm gonna do streams once I get the system.
Do a road to glory, Boone. That's what you gotta do. You gotta do a road to glory.
And I'll start streaming.
Running back.
I just have to get the. I'll be locked in, boys. Don't worry.
You know who they should put in the game? Like, I don't know if he's in it currently, but man, if he was, I'd go coach Oregon if this man was in the game, and that's Penei Sewell. If they put college virgin Penei, I'm going to Oregon. And today, the executives, coaches, and scouts ranked the top tackles. And Penei Sewell wasn't one. He wasn't one.
I'm gonna try it. It was a Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll show you. It has to be. I mean, I guess. It's
Okay,
not.
that's what I'm saying. Like it better.
Yeah,
be.
There's only one. Let's just go over it. I've got some stuff. I've got PFF.
I think Penei. Oh, we'll save it. Let's just look at let's just look at the damn thing and we'll break it down because I got some thoughts on this at least now and for the future. But I mean, look at this. So Trent Williams is number 1 on this list. The lowest ranking was 7. Whoever ranked him 7 needs to stay off the weed because 7 is wild.
It's not even weed.
Blasphemous.
Yeah, that's wild that his lowest ranking was 7. I don't know who that was, but get rid of that vote and give it to one of us. Number 2, Penei Sewell.
Please.
Oh, what the? What you
add like something
Added
up.
that while you were gone, Jeff. I had to.
Whoa,
This is disrespectful.
That shook me up. I'm not even gonna lie. I kind of like that. Penei Sewell, child police. Penei Sewell comes in at number 2. Lowest ranking was 5. Last year's ranking was 6, and his highest ranking was 2, and he is 2. And we'll get to who's below him real quick, and then we'll kind of read some of the reasoning. So behind him was Laramie Tunsil, which I don't disagree. He's one of the best. Tristan Wirfs, he should be up there. Lane Johnson, I get a little older, but still, I mean, I put Lane a little higher in my opinion, even though he's old, a little older.
He's still one of the best in the game.
Yeah, Christian Darrisaw and Jordan Mailata. I mean, some of these, I mean, who cares? Number 2, though, Penei Sewell. What are we doing here? And they say here, in quotes, I'll just read this. Dominant run blocker and arguably the best anchor in pass protection. An AFC executive said some OTs are great pass blockers, but just average in the run game. He's elite in both phases, very consistent, plays with an edge. Oh, I mean, I don't know.
It's questionable. The thing to me, his highest rank is 2. Like, no one wanted to rank him number 1 at all. Not one executive coach or scout could, hey, Penei Sewell's number 1. I don't think it's like that big of a difference from Trent Williams to Penei Sewell. Like, I think last year I would rather have Penei Sewell than Trent Williams.
Yeah,
way
especially
rather.
I think last year was the year you started to see it, and it's not so much pulling away from Trent, but you could really see Penei, especially in the run game. He's always been good in the run game, but you really saw him when he had David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs behind him. When he had better running backs behind him, it made him better because he knew that he had more talent around it, so it allows you to trust yourself more. So he was able to make more plays in the run game, and I get the understanding of saying that Trent Williams is the best tackle in football. I'm not going to say you're insane for it, but I think if you're saying heading into 2024, I think Penei at this point is definitely Trent's. His whole thing was he was such a big body that was agile on his feet. He was great in space. If you want to throw a zone pitch outside or run a screen press, like Trent Williams could do it all in the pass and the run game. And I think Penei Sewell can as well. And he's more athletic. And I think at this point, he's just a better overall football player. And it's not by much, but I think at this point, Trent's declining a little bit. He's still the top 2 offensive tackles in the league. But I do think at some point, you got to kind of it's a young man's game. Trent's going to get passed up. And I think Penei passed him up last year. I don't hate the take for putting him at 1, but that's just my take on it.
Yeah, this comment really, and it's so true. Panda Sam, Tristan Wirfs got ranked number 1 and Sewell didn't. And I love Tristan Wirfs, but I think my problem more so with this list isn't that Williams is 1. It's that Penei didn't even get a single number 1 vote.
Yeah.
Like there's not really even a consideration. It's like, oh yeah, he's behind Trent. I mean, Trent's the best, which again, like to your point, Lucas, I don't hate, I disagree. But the fact that Penei Sewell, I didn't even get a vote. I think this year, this upcoming season, he is absolutely the best tackle. I think he's one of the best players because of what he's able to do out of his normal position now. I know we got to stop using that, but it's only been a year and a half. He's been playing right tackle. He's been playing left tackle his entire life. And he's been playing right tackle, and he's still the second best tackle. So, again, to me, that's like, wow, this guy ends up playing left, which is his natural position. I think he could be even, he's, I mean, give me that top spot. That's Penei Sewell. I mean, last year he allowed 1 sack. Trent Williams allowed 0. There's not really much of a difference there. And you have a guy in Penei, real quick, Booner, it's catching passes. I mean, come on, one hand and someone then bitch
tight end.
TV. That's my tackle. He's number
tight
1.
end. And like, 1. I again, guys, we're not big on PFF, but just looking at the grades, you can see like how is he in the run game, how is he in the pass game, like. Penei Sewell has a higher overall than Trent Williams. In the run game, Penei Sewell is a 95.1 PFF grade. Trent Williams 92.6. Like there's a clear difference. And then for the pass blocking, it's a bit opposite. Trent has an 84.3 and Penei 79.2. But like there's that difference. But then you look at, all right, how many sacks did each of them give up? Again, Penei 1, Trent Williams 0. So it's like, all right, yeah, you could look at the pass grade, but 1 to 0, like they're essentially the same player. And like I think like you can make the argument Penei and Trent separated themselves from the rest of the field. Like Laramie Tunsil, he gave up like 5+ sacks this year, and he's third on that list. So like there is a big gap there, in my opinion, from second to third. But I think you can argue that this year Penei passed up Trent Williams. I don't think there's like unless you're a 49ers fan and you're a little biased, but just look at the guys too. Do you guys remember that stretch of football versus like Joey Bosa? Remember the game, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and he was just up against them all day. And then he walked in the back of the locker room after, and he was like, I'm a man amongst boys out here on this football field. And he has that clip. And then he went through like a 4-game stretch against like elite defensive ends, edge rushers in the league, and gave up like no sacks through that stretch. And it was like the only sack he gave up was versus like a player I don't even know any of us can name. And it was just like every single elite edge rusher he went up against didn't get close to the quarterback this year. And at the same time, like he's doing that versus elite edge rushers, and he's the best blocker in the run tackle, run blocker in the game. Like, come on, what are we doing here? And he's on the number 1 offensive line in the NFL too, with that too.
I want your guys' thoughts on this comment. Jeff Olson says, and Sewell is fantastic, but Wirfs is a better pass blocker and doesn't get nearly as many penalties as Sewell does. And I think I think Wirfs he's a really good pass blocker. I will give him that. But what's wild is Wirfs allowed last year more hits, more sacks, and had 1 less penalty, and he allowed more pressure. So based on last year to going on to this year, like, no, he's not. I think Penei Sewell's a better overall tackle. That's where I'm at with that, Jeff. I don't know where you guys are at with the Wirfs, because I think Wirfs is really good. Really good.
Yeah, Wirfs has been great since he stepped foot in the league. I'm pretty sure he was an all-pro as a rookie, or just up there as one of the better tackles as a rookie. So it's not even disrespect to him. But back to what Booner was saying, where Trent and Penei both just separate themselves, is going back to athleticism. Like, there's not many guys on planet Earth that are that big and can move like Penei Sewell can. Tristan Wirfs is very good. He doesn't sniff Penei in the open field, and that helps out your offense. It helps out Ben Johnson. It helps everything out. I mean, you saw the one game where Penei really struggled was a Green Bay at home on Thanksgiving, and you saw what it did just to the whole offense. When Penei struggled, this offense became a shell of itself because Jared Goff couldn't be protected as much. That obviously affects the passing game, and then they got behind in the game, so they couldn't run the ball as much. So Penei Sewell, he's the leader of this team. He's the leader of this offense, and I think he's without a doubt the best tackle in the NFL, and Tristan Wirfs is a damn good one, but he's not Penei Sewell type of player. Tangibly, Penei Sewell blows Tristan Wirfs out of the water, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, he's, again, playing right tackle. He's 2. I think this year, by the end of it, everyone's going to pretty much consensusly say it'll be a consensus that he's number 1. I agree. I think. I mean, he's only all pro. He was like Brad Holmes' first pick, and that's a foundational pick. That's like we want our team to model this dude. We're picking him, and the team's done exactly that. Like Penei Sewell, I think, is the heart of this. Him and I would even say Frank to some extent as well, because we mentioned how important Frank's importance, but they're like the heartbeat of this entire team. I mean, they want to run the ball, run it towards Penei Sewell's side. They want to, if they want to drop back and Jared Goff's trying to throw the ball, Penei Sewell's not letting anybody. I mean, he's putting you in a jail cell and throwing away the key. I mean, he's different. Jeff says, I feel exactly how Lucas does, but in I don't know, recess. Wirfs is definitely better, but Sewell's amazing. Talking Walter Jones versus Orlando Brown here. I mean,
it's fine. It's just different. I think it just feels about, again, what's your taste, and I just prefer Penei because I think it's very rare to come across guys that athletic.
I think I would go Penei and Trent Williams, and then Gap, and then Tristan Wirfs. Like I just think they're that much better than anyone else in the NFL right now. You know what I mean? Like that's
so tier one tackles: Trent Williams,
Penei Sewell. Yeah, those 2. Tier 2, and then Tristan Wirfs, Laramie Tunsil, like
Lane Johnson. I think Lane Johnson.
Yes, but I think right now, like last season, I think like Penei put himself in that other category to where it's no one's better than him. Like Trent Williams, yeah, but I think I'm shocked that Trent Williams is just number one overall, and Penei didn't get any number one votes. Like that's shocking to me because it felt like all season long, people around the NFL, maybe it's a Lions thing, I don't know, but it felt like people around the NFL, as the Lions were going on this run, were looking at Penei Sewell every single national game. They're like, hey, this is the best tackle in football. And maybe not just the best tackle, this is the best lineman in all of football. And like that was like a thing that was going on every single week, every single national broadcast. Any producers or broadcasters that were coming into Detroit, they were all saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, even to Taylor Decker's importance, he's on this list as an honorable mention. I think that's right where he should be. Like he's a top 15 tackle. He's someone that, you know, is good. He should be like an honorable mention. I mean, so I didn't put it up because I didn't think much people would disagree with it. But you see who the tackles that are on there. Yeah. So two tackles at least mentioned from the Detroit Lions, and then you have Frank Ragnow being ranked on this interior offensive lineman list. And no Kevin Zeitler.
That's kind of surprising, but I'm not that surprised. I thought he, again, would be – he's kind of like a Taylor Decker tier to me, in my opinion. But, again, I think when you look at him, I think he's even a little bit more better. I'd say he's probably near like a top 10 guard. So it's a little surprising, but I'd have to see the list.
I don't even think he was receiving votes.
He didn't even receive a vote.
Yeah.
I will say Jonah Jackson received votes. Steve Avila received votes. I mean, yeah,
maybe because he's up there in age.
I would assume so, but then there's also on here. There's Brandon Sheriff, who's like 30.
That boy is old. Yeah, he's been around for a minute.
So that's another part where I mean, Kevin Zeitler's definitely worth receiving votes. But let's look at the interior offensive lineman ranking, and let's see where they have Frank Ragnow, because this was interesting. So Zach Martin comes in at number 1. I'm not surprised by this. I don't think you guys, unless you guys are, I'm not surprised he's at number 1.
Put him at 9. That's crazy.
Yes, whoever put him at 9 is. I mean,
I would like to see a list of who's on. Like, I know it's just like probably ESPN has like insiders that they like talk to, so it's not like everyone. But I would like to know. They should have a list of everyone and release it.
Yeah,
that should be required.
I agree. I mean, number 2, Chris Lindstrom. I don't disagree with this either. I think Chris he's an absolute. That dude's a building block, and they have him in Atlanta. So I don't disagree with this.
I will say it now too. I did look at this list. I think this list is fair.
Okay, well, we go to 3. Quentin Nelson. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's Quentin freaking Nelson. Yeah, I mean that's fair. Joe Tooney.
Yeah.
Which. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Joe Batonio.
Kind of surprising he's that high. I'm not mad at it, though.
Yeah, not mad at it. You know, he's on there. Landon Dickerson from the Eagles is on here as well.
Fair.
Whatever. And then you go to 7, Creed Humphrey. Now, he is the I think he's the first center.
First center, yes.
Yes. The first center on this list is 7, Creed Humphrey. I went to war. Remember last year?
Yeah, we did.
Creed
Humphrey out of hill.
Highest ranking number 1, lowest ranking 8, and then you have Frank Ragnow at 8. And his lowest ranking was unranked. I mean,
That's crazy. They had somebody else up there. I think it was Chris Lindstrom they had unranked too. So somebody's just going rogue or just doesn't know ball and slipped away to ESPN.
Or there's just favoritism at that point. It's like they just know some of these guys. I want, let me write my narratives. I've noticed a lot of people in national media do that. They make their narratives, they put their articles out, and then when they do national things like this, they try and make it to where they can write their own narratives. Like who's that guy from CBS? Do you guys know? Who's the guy that used to do those rankings? I used to go off on him. I can't even remember.
I don't know.
But he used to do this. He had the thing to where he thought the Packers were going to be like the best team, win the NFC North, all this. So like within like the first 4 weeks of the season, he had the Packers ranked in the top 5 of his power rankings. It was just to write his own narrative. That's all it was. What's this guy's name?
Took a stand on his hill.
Yeah, well,
Pete Prisco. Shout out ETN, man. That guy sucks, dude.
Oh, Pete Prisco.
He writes his narratives before the season, and then all year he does his rankings based off what he said. So he's always right. It's corrupt. That's what it is. It's corrupt.
Well, if you keep going, I mean, just to show Trey Smith at 9, Elgin Jenkins at 10, and then you have some like honorable mentions, which are kind of irrelevant. I just looked at the receiving votes. Like I mentioned, no Kevin Zeitler, but Jonah Jackson's here.
Jonah, that's
So yeah, that whatever.
Horrible.
I disagree with that based on last year. I mean, last year Jonah had a really, really bad year, especially in pass blocking. But to just kind of react to the Creed Humphrey thing, my problem is, and I think Creed Humphrey is one of the best centers in the NFL. I'm not saying he's not good. He's very good, and he's young, and he's only going to continue to get better. But the thing that frustrates me about the Frank Ragnow disrespect is he's not a limelight kind of guy. He's not really on social media. He has his fishing channel, which you guys should go check out. It's very, very, it's entertaining. And I'm not a huge fisherman, but I'll watch Frank Ragnow's videos. But he's not like a, hey, me kind of guy. He's quiet. He works his ass off, does his job at a high level, goes home, fishes. Like very, very simple guy. Doesn't get a lot of publicity, and he's okay with that. But what frustrates me is when guys don't get the respect they deserve. Like Frank Ragnow, when he does not play in this lineup, it is a disaster. And I know the sample size we have is with a worse team. But even you take this upcoming season, if Frank Ragnow goes down for whatever reason, you have to have Graham play center. I think Graham is very serviceable at center, but he's not Frank Ragnow. I mean, the way Frank Ragnow, we talked about this last week, Booner, I believe, or was it the week prior? We talked about how Frank Ragnow is important.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it with his communication with Jared Goff. He's calling out blitzes. He's calling out different things for Jared Goff, and he's a very, very smart football player. You even go back last year. I mean, Frank Ragnow had a great year. We know he was an All-Pro, I believe, last year he was, on top of that. But you look at some of the things he did. He only had 3 penalties on the year. He allowed 1 sack, allowed 5 hits, allowed 18 total pressures. So think about that for a second. Then you go over to Creed Humphrey. He allowed more sacks because he allowed 4. Hits, he allowed like 2 less than Frank Ragnow, but he allowed about the same pressures. And you look at the penalties, and he had more penalties. So he allowed more sacks, and he had more penalties. And Frank, I get it, Creed and playing with Kansas City, and him and Mahomes have that chemistry down pat. But, man, I mean, I would argue Frank, even at the age he's playing at with the injuries, he's still a better player at this point until there's a significant drop-off. I don't really know. Yeah. I don't really know what changed for him not to be the best center. I'm serious. Like he's been playing at a high level. I don't really get it. Maybe Creed plays for Kansas City and they're winning Super Bowls and he's in the limelight. But if you switch and Frank is in Kansas City and they're winning Super Bowls, would he be the number 1 ranked center? I mean, I think it's really about situation at this point, fellas. I mean, I don't even think it's about the player, because if it is, it's Frank Ragnow. He's the better player.
I will say this: when Creed Humphrey stepped foot in the NFL, he was like the Sam Laporte of centers. Like he stepped foot in the NFL and was the best center besides Jason Kelce. And I think the fact that they won a Super Bowl in his first year, I think that has carried him, and he has stayed at the same level. So I'm somebody that I think Creed Humphrey is the best center in the NFL, especially when you look at Kansas City this year. Yeah, he has Patrick Mahomes. Who is Patrick Mahomes throwing to? Patrick Mahomes is running around that backfield a lot more. Patrick Mahomes got to hold on to the ball longer than Jared Goff does. So I think Frank and Creed, if you compare their stats, I understand that, yes, Frank allowed less sacks, but I think if you look at a guy like Creed, Creed's more athletic, and I think he's at the same talent tier. And at the end of the day, he's produced more at a winning level, contributed more. So I think it's hard to, again, it's not taking away from Frank, but you got to give credit to Creed where it's due, especially for early on he is in his career.
The thing with me with the Creed Humphrey thing is Jeff, to your point, like he came into a situation instantly with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, a Super Bowl caliber team, like instantly. He's been in the league for 3 years. He has 2 Super Bowls. So like right away he comes in and he is in the best situation in all of football.
But
and
where does that?
That has to do with it, because
where does that? I get that when you're talking about like a wide receiver, and I'm trying to help like understand on my end. I get it if you're like a wide receiver or running back. When you talk about center, like where are you getting impacted from?
You're coming in instantly and you have the best quarterback. You're working with the best quarterback all week long. You're working with the best offensive mind in Andy Reid all week long. In preparation, you're learning. Like he came into probably arguably the perfect situation offensively anyone could have. Like if he goes anywhere, he's not having the career. Like he's probably just as good, but he's winning football games, and winning football games puts you in the spot, the limelight, like instantly. And if Frank was in the obviously winning Super Bowls and doing what they were doing with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, Frank would be the number one center in the NFL, and it wouldn't be a question. Like, people would be talking about Frank week in and week out, just like Creed Humphrey. It would be the same exact thing. Now the Lions are starting to win, and Frank's starting to get a little bit more respect. Like, people are starting to put him in there. Like, people are starting to say, hey, it sucks for him because, like, now he's a little later in his career. He's got the injury, and, like, it's a little past that time. But if Frank was in that position a couple years ago, and like where we are at right now with the Detroit Lions team, I think it would be a lot different. Like, Frank, I say it all the time. I listened on I think it was 97.1 did an interview with him, or someone did an interview with Frank Ragnow, and he talked about his day-to-day when it comes to preparing the Lions team. It's Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, Frank Ragnow. Like, those are the guys who basically run this offense when it comes to calling out blitzes, calling out, pass protections, audibles, all of that. Like, Frank Ragnow is probably the best in the game at doing that. And they say it in this article too, about how his communication at the line is probably the best out of any center in the NFL right now. And it's just his experience. Like, yeah, Creed probably can do the same thing, but Frank's been in the league for so long, and he does it at such a high level. And he talks about how he gets up and goes to the quarterback meetings in the morning. He gets up and he's constantly talking with Jared Goff about protections. And, like, you saw the Chicago game in Chicago without Frank Ragnow. They went in there and just lost. And there was not, like, you could tell it looked a little disoriented because he wasn't there, and Graham had to step in and play center. So I think, like, you see when Frank is out, it affects the game more than probably, like, yeah, Creed Humphrey out, it's going to affect the game, but Frank is probably one of the more, like, irreplaceable pieces on this Lions team. Like, if you said this year we had to replace Frank Ragnow, that'd be tough to do.
Yeah, to just add to that, Lucas, I think Creed Humphrey replacing him would be very hard. Very good player. Can I ask you this? Do you think it helps to have a quarterback? I know for tackles it's harder when they're more mobile, because it's hard when they're running around and they're taking sacks, but sometimes it can help them if they're evading sacks. Do you think that makes Frank's job harder or easier? Or maybe not easier, but you get what I'm saying, that Jared's not as mobile.
Because Jared's a guy that he's not mobile, but he also doesn't have the strongest arm, so he's not trying to throw it down the field. I think it makes it easier. Like, it doesn't even have to be Jared Goff. I think quarterbacks who get the ball out of their hands quicker is like a center's best friend. Like, that's what made Brady so good. He would snap the ball's out in under 2 seconds, and he's hitting his receiver in stride. He never got sacked. Like, that was the whole thing when you saw the Bosa clip going viral the other day, because he couldn't get to Brady because the ball was out of his hand. I think if you have a quarterback that has a quicker trigger compared to one that creates plays, it helps your lineman out easier, because it's just more, it's less time for the defense to do anything and allows you to do your job.
I want to throw this out there too real quick. This Molly says, so we are penalizing players because they got drafted to a good team. It's not penalizing players. When you're looking at who's a better player, you have to look at situation. Like, that does matter. Like, situations matter. And it's the same thing. And I guess it's kind of a little different with the Jahmyr Gibbs Bijans, because I'm like, hey, you have a good situation. I'm going to rank him higher because he's doing well in a good situation. So I guess it's conflict of interest there. But again, you do have to talk about that, because it's like, who's the receiver on the Chiefs? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Rasheed Rice.
No, not Rasheed Rice.
Hollywood Brown.
No, he left. He's won 2 Super Bowls with them, and he left, came back.
Marcus
Oh
Valdez
my gosh!
Mecole Hardman.
Mecole Hardman.
Yeah,
Look at Mecole Hardman when he's in Kansas City. He puts, like, he obviously doesn't go out to get 1,000 yards, but he's productive in games. Like, he goes out there and then he leaves, and he's like, I got to get back to the Chiefs. Like, I'm going back, and he goes back and he wins a Super Bowl, and he's productive, gets the game-winning catch. So it's like there are conversations where you can have to where, hey, if you go on the best team in football and in an organization that's having an all-time run, just like the Patriots did, yeah, like, look at all those Patriots players who were insanely good in New England and left and didn't do much. Like, you're in a really good situation. That does matter to like a point.
Well, I do understand, Lucas, your point though, because what you're saying, Booner, applies, I think, more to weapons, like receivers, tight ends that benefit. Yeah. I think the offensive line can, but Patrick Mahomes just hold on to the ball. Like, so I guess that could also make Lucas's argument. I mean, there was a lot of times where Mahomes is just sitting with the ball, holding, and Jared's the opposite.
It goes back to
the ball out very quickly. So I get that. The only reason why I brought up the situation is because I do believe that winning Super Bowls puts you into, like, people look at you in a certain way. I'm not saying
differently
benefits for playing.
Building.
Yes, that's why I think he gets the more attention. But doesn't discredit him as a player. I want to make that very clear.
Yeah, and just kind of expand on what you were saying a little bit, Jeff, there as far as the offensive line. It goes back to, remember around the combine time, like Jim Harbaugh, they were asking Jim Harbaugh, like, what's so special about offensive line? He's like, everything starts with the offensive line. Everybody depends on the offensive line. You got to worry about the quarterback and the ball out to the receiver, but he can't do that unless the offensive line is working. So that's where I think situationally doesn't really matter, because think about Joe Thomas, first ballot Hall of Famer, but he was playing on arguably the worst era for a football team ever outside the Detroit Lions when he was playing in Cleveland. So I get the point where situations do matter, but I think it's least impactful on the offensive lineman.
Hey, I will say him being going into year 4 as young as he is, being the best center in football, I think that as well. It's like, look at this kid. You know what I mean? Like, that does matter. That is a big difference, because Frank is towards the end of his career. Creed Humphrey is getting into his career. Like, there is kind of that aspect to it as well. The age. It's the same thing with Kevin Zeitler. Like, he's not on the list most likely because he's a lot older, and he's been in Pro Bowls, but like, he is towards the end of his career where like that decline does happen. So maybe executives, coaches, and people look at it a little bit different.
Yeah, and real quick, Frank did not make an all-pro team.
Pro Bowl, I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, I said all-pro earlier. Did not.
Frank made all-pro this year. He was second team all-pro.
He did. Okay.
Yeah, he was second team all-pro.
Because I said
it
that.
Was Jason. I'm like 90% sure. I can double check, but
you're right. It's I don't want to make sure I'm not throwing things around.
I'll look it up right now for you, but I'm 90% sure.
Conversation before, but regardless,
it was Jason Kelsey and Frank Ragnow. Creed Humphrey was not. Creed Humphrey. They both were over Creed Humphrey.
Yeah, and I think just based on the year Frank had and the way he's playing right now, maybe a part of it is he's getting older. He's dealt with some injuries. But if we're talking about Frank Ragnow as a player, I still think he's the best center in football. But I don't. If you want to put Creed there, I disagree. But I think those two are kind of the top centers. I mean,
I think where they are on the list too, there's like a lot of really good guards in the NFL. So I think like I'm not mad that he's at, where was he at, 8? Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, he's on the top 10 list with guards. If you did a top 10 centers, he would be 1 or 2. So I think it's fair.
And I think Kevin Zeitler, I don't care, man. He's 34. The way he played last year, even at his age, I think he played better than Jonah. I think Jonah is still a good player. He's dealing with some injuries, but I think they're kind of in the same, like they have different strengths, but I don't think it's like a big drop off. I think they're pretty similar. I think Zeitler brings some things that maybe Jonah lacks, and I think vice versa. Maybe Jonah's a better run blocker. I mean, there's maybe things you can debate there, but
money.
Yeah.
And the money's way cheaper.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'd rather have Kevin Zeitler on his contract than I would Jonah. If I'm being
better
honest.
bang for your buck for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's raw.
And two, that's the thing too with Frank. I don't know if you guys realize that, like, his contract, I think he signed like a 4-year, $50 million contract. Some of these guards, like, are like some of these guys on this top 10 list. I'm pretty sure, what's his name, signed like $100 million deal. And you have Frank with $50 million. Like, you're sitting there, I don't know. Obviously, Creed Humphrey's on a rookie deal, but like some of these guys have signed like massive deals. You have Frank for $50 million over 4 years. That's insane.
Well, let's get to the quarterback list because Jared Goff was ranked on this list. You'll find out where when we get to it. I don't, speaking of the Chiefs, I don't think it's no one's surprise. Let's just get through number 1. I mean, it's Mahomes. Whoever put him at number 2 has
crazy.
I think it's the same guy.
He just wants to be different.
He's schizophrenic for sure. He's going through a manic episode making this list.
I don't know who put him 2 and who was 1. Actually, we'll find out. But Mahomes ranked number 1. Josh Allen or Joe Burrow.
Yeah, don't do that to me.
Oh, Boone.
I think this is
just I did you there.
I think this is fair. I think like I think Joe Burrow 2 and Josh Allen 3. I think like again they're interchangeable. It just depends on.
Boone.
It depends.
Wow.
Like it depends
very
on
mature. Very mature.
Thank you.
Very mature. Well, 2 is Joe Burrow. 3 is Josh Allen, and this is who put him at 1. Okay, now it makes sense because Mahomes was ranked 2. Same.
Wait, Joe Burrow didn't have a number 1 ranking?
I mean, well, clearly more favored him as 2, so he's 2. But no,
schizophrenic again. There's a schizophrenic making this list. Wow. Yeah, Josh Allen at number 1.
Josh Allen was.
Wow.
I mean, that is.
I don't disagree.
I think Josh Allen's he's really good, but like 1 Boone.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, Patrick Mahomes is
even if it was Joe Burrow, I'd be like,
blasphemous.
What? Yeah,
that is blasphemous.
We
Stephen A. Smith, you're absolutely right. If it was Joe Burrow, I would still be upset. Number 4, Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's fair. I had Lamar 4th in my quarterback rankings when we did our top 10.
That's fine. Let's see who's at 5. Let's see.
Number 5, Matthew Stafford.
Ooh, I have an issue with this list. I have an issue with it. It's more of a bias thing for me, though.
Yeah, I mean, he had a highest ranking of 3, so that's a whole other
people like he's makes great throws. He's a winner too.
Well, he's 5.
Got like the best arm in the NFL. Him and Patrick Mahomes.
6 is
Allen.
Justin Herbert.
Fair.
Yeah, I think he should be a little higher, but it is what it is.
I had Herbert. That's why Jeff, I texted you before the show looking for him. I had Herbert at 6 as well on my list, so I think that's
okay. I think I had him
at 5.
I think I had him at 5, but I could be wrong. But regardless, Justin Herbert's at 6. 7 is CJ Stroud.
All right, at least he's at 7. That's the one where I'm surprised he wasn't higher. Like, I understand he's a rookie, but there's very few rookies who look like that. He looked like he was a 5-year NFL veteran who just got his extension. And I think when you surround him with more talent, he's only going to get better. I would never put him this low.
There are a lot of people who put him outside the top 10. I feel like I've seen a couple of quarterback rankings this offseason that have had CJ Stroud outside the top 10. I think it's because he was a rookie, so they're like, hey, we want to see it another year. He should be like, I had him 5th on my list. Like, my list basically just swap Matthew Stafford, CJ Stroud. I think that's fair.
I mean, it says right here, few of the voters believe he's top 3 already. I mean,
he very well could be.
And that's yeah, he's damn good.
Not above Josh Allen, but he's getting there.
I mean, we'll keep it going. Number 8 is Aaron Rodgers. So no Jared Goff yet. Aaron Rodgers is here.
Coming off an Achilles. We'll see.
Yeah. And they even say old and injured is not the typical description of a top 10 quarterback. Well, he was on my top 10 list, but
he was not on mine. I had Jordan Love instead of him.
Yeah, well, you go down at number 9 is Jared Goff.
Legend.
Okay.
And last year he was an honorable mention. His highest ranking by somebody was 5, and then the lowest was out of the top 10.
That's crazy. 5 is wild. 5 is
wow,
wild.
I would like to meet whoever did that. That would be
probably you, Boone.
If I would have I pulled mine up. I had him at 8, and I had Jordan Love 9. So I took Aaron Rodgers out. I had Love at 9 and Goff 1 more up.
You know what's really interesting on this? This last part, voters didn't see him even a top 15 option at that point when he was with when he suffered the career low in passing yards and statistics for a 3-win Lions team. So when he first got to Detroit, people didn't even think he was top 15. Now he's top 10. Some put on here a scout or executive, whoever it was, top 5.
Can I throw something out there?
Yeah, go ahead, Boone.
I just want to throw this out there. Like, can you scroll up to what was it? Where was Stafford at 5?
Mm-hmm.
5, and then if you keep going, so Matthew Stafford, the first NFC quarterback on this list. The next one, very next NFC quarterback on this list, is Jared Goff at number 9. So they're essentially saying, the executives, the coaches, and scouts around the NFL think Jared Goff is the second best quarterback in the NFC. Like, and then you still have Jordan Love, Dak, Brock Purdy, all below these guys. Like, to me, obviously, the AFC is stacked. I think that just shows the AFC is stacked with quarterbacks, and it's a tough conference. But think about it, fellas. It's now I'm not saying it's easy to win an NFC championship game, but you have the second, essentially, to these guys, you have the second best quarterback in the NFC. This should be a time to go win it. Get to the Super Bowl, and then you just have to face one of those top 10 guys. That's you the advantage Detroit Lions there.
Yeah. When Goff left LA, I thought of him as a Derek Carr tier quarterback, and obviously situation does matter. But when Jared Goff got to Detroit, we bring it up all the time. He's throwing to Tyrell Williams, Rashad Perriman. I mean, that situation was worse than Derek Carr, and he was outperforming. So I think Jared Goff, he revived his career in Detroit, and him at number 9, I have no issue with. That's probably around the same range I would put him in. And I think having him as the second best quarterback in the NFC, as of right now, people could hate me for it, but I have Jordan Love in front of him. But I think Jared Goff, without a doubt, is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we did our ranking. I think I had him around this mark. We all agree, not all, excuse me, because you had Jordan Love, which we already discussed that Jordan Love versus Jared Goff thing. You have them 3, we have them 2. There's not really much to like bicker about. But again, if you have a top 2 to 3 quarterback in your conference, you're in a pretty good situation.
Yes.
Like, I'll agree. If you have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, you're in a pretty good situation. I mean, I know people argue about, he should be 5 or he should be 4 or 6 or 7, whatever it is. If you just have a guy that is top 10, it's the hardest position to get correct. And if you have a top 10 quarterback, you're in a really good position. I mean, according to this list, you have the 9th best quarterback in the NFL out of 32 teams. There is, what would that be? 23, I guess, 23 teams that would be sitting there going, well, we'd rather have Jared Goff. We would take Jared Goff. That's a good situation to be in. I want to see who's 10. I didn't see.
Do you guys want to know?
Dak Prescott is 10.
I got absolutely cooked for having Dak at 10.
As you should.
I mean, look at this though. Highest ranking was 7. I mean, lowest ranking was out of the top 10. And many had him in the MVP conversation towards the end of the year.
I want to throw this out there. Think about this too, guys. Like, Jeff, what's the one thing that we always talk about too? Quarterback, GM, head coach, right? Like, and if you look at rankings, I just pulled up the GM rankings here. The NFL.com put out a couple months ago. They had the Detroit Lions and Brad Holmes at 7. We when you were gone, Jeff, we did the CBS put out their head coaching rankings. They had Dan Campbell at 8, which I thought he could have been higher. I think he could have passed a couple guys up. So you say you have Dan Campbell at 8, and now you have your quarterback at 9. All 3 of those main components, the GM, top 10 GM, quarterback, a top 10 quarterback, and a top 10 head coach. You literally, like, that is the most important thing is in the NFL to go and win a Super Bowl. You have all 3 of them, the top 10 in the NFL, and you could argue some of them should be higher in the top 7, top 6, top 5, like whatever you want to put them. But they're all some of the best in the NFL. And like, I don't know how many other teams around the NFL have those rankings like that for all 3 aspects. Like, some might have a quarterback that's in the top 10, but their GM might be outside the top 10. Like, the Detroit Lions have all 3 at an elite level. And you don't see that a lot. Like, that's a Super Bowl team, especially the way the NFC is right now. There's no reason not to compete for a Super Bowl having those 3.
Yeah, I hammer it all the time. I mean, it's because I'll give you an example. Lions, you just brought up top 10 head coach, top 10 GM. Well, he's not. He's top 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. Whatever you guys want to rank them. But in theory, let's just go all across the board. Top 10 in all categories, head coach, quarterback, and GM. Dallas Cowboys have one of those in a top 10 ranking. That's the quarterback. And look at what they've done. Absolutely nothing. So it's important. I mean, another team I'll bring up that has those 3 things, 2 teams, 49ers and Chiefs, both played in the Super Bowl this past year. So, Rams, another one. They won a Super Bowl. We can keep going. There's other organizations that have had those 3 things, and it's worked out pretty well for them. So even the Ravens, who haven't won a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, but they were in the AFC Championship game, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, Eric DeCosta. I mean, yeah, that's how good organizations are run correctly. You have a great GM, a great coach, and a great quarterback. Defense matters. We all agree. But once you get those things figured out, I mean, it's hard to do. Not every team can do it. That's why people get wrapped up in should Jared be higher or whatever it is. Who cares? If you have those 3 things, do you think Jared gives a damn about any of these rankings? No, he just goes out and plays ball, puts up top 5 numbers. I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. It's a great situation, but you're absolutely right, Boone. You get those 3 things correct, you're good.
The Cowboys. Did you already? What was the example you used? I apologize. I was looking at my notes. Yeah, the Cowboys. Like, that's a perfect example, dude. Jerry Jones I would put him way outside the top 10 of a GM. Like, he's basically owner/GM.
Like I put draft though. He just doesn't do anything in free agency.
Nothing. He doesn't do anything. He makes no moves outside of the draft. And then, like, Mike McCarthy, I think he might have been like 18th or 19th in the head coaching rankings that we went over on Friday. Like, he was not even close to the top 10. But you have a top 10 quarterback, in these rankings.
They have a great defense.
You have a great defense, but guess what? In the NFL of today's world, you need a quarterback. And, like, that's how the NFL works. You can have a great defense. If you don't have a quarterback that's able to take care of the ball and help win games, you're not winning a Super Bowl. You're not coming close to it.
And I see Mally Mull says Jerry's in our GM. I believe it's his son, Steven Jones.
Oh, dude, it's Jerry, dude. Like, let's be honest here. Jerry sits at the head of the
It's
table.
Jerry's world for a reason.
Yeah,
Jerry's
like-
making the call every time it's a draft.
I don't even care. Like, what are we doing?
Well, yeah, you're probably correct there. But you're absolutely right. I mean, even the Cowboys, I didn't even think about it, the defense. They have a great defense. Doesn't even matter. If you put that level of defense the Cowboys had with the Lions, boy, mess around, go win one. I mean, with what they have already. So yeah.
All right, hey, perfect example. Okay, all right. There's somebody who did they lose to? The Packers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love. A lot of people say he's top 10 right now.
Yeah,
they've got
you
top 10 head coach. You can argue Matt LaFleur, a top 10 head coach as well.
Yeah,
which he was ranked 5th in the head coach rankings, which was wild. But top 10 head coach, and as much as we hate Brian Gutekunst, or however you pronounce his name, he's probably top 10 as well. And they go out and beat the Cowboys because the Cowboys don't have all of that.
Yeah,
it's weird how the world works.
Down the field to save his life in a playoff game. Boy chokes.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think people talk about enough. That those three things? It's like the three pillars to success in the NFL, at least for long-term success. If you extend all those three things, is having those three positions figured out, and the Lions do. So, it is what it is. I see now people arguing whether Cherry's the GM or not. Thank God Sheila doesn't really. She's in the war room, but she just kind of chills, lets everyone work, and she's
there for the vibes.
She's like the greatest cheerleader ever. It was like that David Temper's wife that was.
Oh God, that was terrible.
In the war room, kind of like I think there. I don't know what was said, but it was like trade up for someone that I like or something like that, or trade up for someone that I like.
She was a good vibe.
I like that player. You said, yeah. And you see what's the coach's name? Drive me nuts. Either way, he just looks at her like the face you're making right now, Jeff.
Dave, is it Dave Canales?
Yeah,
David. Yeah, Canales.
Any owner should not be involved in football decisions.
Any organization, an owner should just sit back unless you're like how Magic Johnson, might own a basketball team, which he doesn't. He owns every other sport, but I think he might own a WNBA team. But you should not let the professionals, let GMs, people who have been let them do it. There's no reason Jerry Jones should be doing it. That man's been bad for 20 years. Sit back, own the team, collect your money, and let a professional handle it, Jerry.
Well, it comes down, certain owners want the credit. They want to be involved in those decisions. So when they work, they get the credit. You have to have a level of selflessness where you're like, okay, I hired the right people. They can have the credit. And then I'll ultimately get the credit because I'm the freaking owner.
Money, yeah.
Yeah, and I hired everybody. But I think Jerry, to some extent, wants the credit. They're going to win Jerry's way. When they win, he could say, you won my way. We won. It was my way. Which is not.
No, it's not the 90s anymore. You don't got Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Larry Allen, and Michael Irvin out there making plays for you with Dion out there too.
Look how much credit Sheila gets. She sits back.
And she still gets a lot of credit.
She hired everyone. She brought everyone in, and she set the culture. And she just sat back. Hey, do your guys' job, and we're winning. Yeah. And then everyone gives Sheila so much credit. Like Jerry, just sit back, hire the right people. You'll get your credit. I think that's the craziest thing.
Tyler says, for some reason, Jerry does nail a ton of first rounders, but he just does not know how to put a roster together.
Not even he hits throughout the draft and most of the rounds, but it's just he goes brain dead when it comes to the offseason. He's not going to make any moves in free agency. He's about to sign Dak for $60 million. Tell me what sense that makes. By the way, you're taking away Tyron Smith. You just took away Tony Pollard, and you lost damn near your whole defense and Dan Quinn. But you're about to extend Dak for more money. Makes sense. Checks out.
The craziest thing is they let go of Zeke because they're like, nah, he's washed. We're done with Zeke. And now he's their RB1 again.
Pounding the table for him to come back.
It's one of the funniest things of all time. They're like, no, he's washed. We're not bringing Zeke back. He's done.
Dude's stomach's going to stick out more than his shoulder pads do. Hanging on. That little crop top's going to be hanging on by a fucking thread.
Yeah, the Zeke story is going to be one of my favorites.
Imagine if he came out with 1,200 yards and
I think it's physically impossible for him to. The downfall of Ezekiel Elliott needs to be studied. It needs to be studied.
Well, I've done the studying. That's why I feel the way I do. About how
this guy and his running backs.
No, okay.
Don't you dare. Don't you bring in Jameer to this conversation when he doesn't need to be.
I'll bring up another great player, and that is Matthew Judon, who we've talked about before. That was my homework assignment that Booner assigned me to bring to the table, is bring a realistic candidate. I brought Matthew Judon. He was going through some contract, issues, and then we see him tweeting cryptic stuff out. And now this is on A to Z Sports. I believe, real quick, I want to give credit. Mike Payton wrote it, so shout out to Mike Payton. But it is basically the odds, the betting odds for.
It's a beautiful thing.
Which it's good to see, boys. And I'm going to pull it up here so you guys can look at it. But Matthew Judon, I want you guys to see, and this is Bet Massachusetts, so this is out
in Boston.
In Boston. But here's the odds, and we'll get to them in a second. But the article reads right here: after a recent cryptic tweet that pointed to the Patriots not be willing to work out an extension for Judon, there's been some belief that Judon could be traded by the Patriots before the start of the season. If that happens, the Lions are considered one of the favorites by Bet Massachusetts. Look at the odds. Seattle comes in as the lead with the best odds, plus 500, 16.7% chance. The Atlanta Falcons are second, plus 550. 15.4% chance. The Chicago Bears are third, plus 550, tied for second, I should say. Tied for second with the Falcons at plus 550, 15.4% chance of landing him. And then the Detroit Lions come in at third, plus 600, 14.3% chance. And then the New England Patriots, it's kind of a drop-off. I mean, is
that for him to stay in New England?
Yeah, plus 1450.
He's gone, like, essentially. Plus 1450. I'll take that bet just in case he stays. That's nuts.
And then the field is plus 215, which is like, okay, well,
it doesn't make sense for New England to sign him just because in a rebuild mode, and that's a guy that he's not going to be making a difference for your team 3 years down the line. And in the 3 years prior to that, you're going to have to pay him at least a pretty penny a little bit. But if he goes to Chicago, that would be, I think, a terrifying defense to face. I mean, I understand he's not Khalil Mack, but that defense would probably be up there as far as when Khalil Mack was in Chicago, and they were winning games pretty handily with Mitchell Trubisky and company. So the Bears, whenever they're good, it's because they have a great defense, and I think if they somehow land Matthew Judon, that'd be like the thing that the Lions really don't want to deal with, because then you could put Montez Sweat on one side to keep Penei busy, and then you got Matthew Judon and Taylor Decker, and I think Judon would at least win a couple of those battles. So send him to Atlanta if it's not in Detroit, but he's a perfect fit in Detroit. I know some people say he's not the scheme fit that he wants, but that's a guy that can fit in any scheme you want him to.
I mean, look at the projected trade real quick. Lions get Matthew Judon. Patriots get 2025 fourth round and 2025 sixth round from the Bucs pick, which is Mike Payton's proposed trade, which I actually love.
I would do it in a heartbeat. I think the thing, too, with, like, if you make that trade, I think if it is available, like, Brad should be going all in for it, because, like, the biggest hole on this team is right now, to me, is defensive end. And it's like, yeah, you've already brought Marcus Davenport in, you have James Houston, you have the players, like, we do know that, but we just don't know, like, if they're not, like, if they're going to be healthy. We don't, like, there's like a big question mark there, and I think that's the biggest question mark on your football team right now is those guys. So it's like, all right, if there's an all-pro or Pro Bowl defensive end who, when he's never injured, like last year was the first time in like 4 or 5 years he missed like 2 games his whole career before last year. And he goes out there and he had 15.5 sacks, 12.5 sacks back-to-back years. You bring him in, you're instantly, now you have Marcus Davenport with him, you have James Houston with him. You instantly as well have probably one of the best edge rush duos throughout the whole entire NFL. You have 2 guys that can go out there this year and go get 15+ sacks in the season with Aiden Hutchinson and Matthew Judon. Like, he's coming off a 15.5 sack season. And you have Hutch, who's expected to go out there and get 15+ sacks as well this year and compete for Defensive Player of the Year. That changes your defense. Like, you get one of the best defenses in the NFL at that point with the secondary reload. Like, you have to go out there and make this move. And, like, I guess my question is like, you're going to have to pay him too. So is it worth, like, hey, going forward, like, in my mind, if you do make the moves, like, yeah, you're going to have to extend him. All right, now you have Matthew Judon and Aiden Hutchinson for the next 3 or 4 years in that Super Bowl window. And they're not going away. And they're both there for the long haul. And you have DJ Reader and Ali McNeil in the middle. That's your defensive line for the next 3 or 4 years for your Super Bowl runs. I think that's like, it's a no. I think it's a no-brainer. I think you have to do it. And at the same time, like Klotzy's point, you don't want to send him to Chicago. You don't want to allow that to happen. And to me as well, the Falcons are a playoff team. You don't want to allow him to go to the Falcons. And who was the other team as well? The NFC team, the Seahawks.
Seahawks
probably aren't a playoff team, but they're in the NFC too. Like you do not want him to go to another NFC team. And I know that was kind of, I was against, like not against, but I wasn't as upset for Chase Young going to the 49ers. I was like, whatever, like we're still going to go to the NFC Championship game. But for me, it's, hey, you do need a D end, and that's like, you need to go out there and make a move. I think that's like a big move to make. That's a Super Bowl winning move right there. Yeah,
I think people were talking about when the Trey Hendrickson rumors were kind of swirling around for the day or two that it was. I think if you bring in Matthew Judon, especially with DJ Reader in there, I think that's a little bit more of an upgrade than it would be to Trey Hendrickson, because I think Judon's better against the run. I think by himself, if you were to put DJ Reader and Matthew Judon on the team together, Judon's going to go get you 16 sacks probably, because if you look at the course of his career, he was just going on a tear. Going off the injury, I probably expect a little bit of a decline, but then when you add in Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, that's probably, I could see Hutch getting 15 sacks and Judon getting 11, 12 sacks.
I mean, easily. And I said this when we first talked about it like weeks ago, that you don't even have to. And if I'm talking to Judon, his agent, if I'm Brad Holmes, now you're entering a place as an organization where you're competing for players in your conference, because you don't want to, you want to separate yourself from the rest. And if you get other teams that, like the Seahawks, or not saying the Seahawks would get Judon, they're immediately on the Lions level, but they get a little closer. And same with these other teams that are trying to, the Falcons, they'll get a little closer. You want to distance yourself. And that's why, if there are NFC teams that are asking for, or they're trying to trade for Judon, you have to be in that conversation. If it's a fourth and a fifth, hell yeah. Give it up. Booner, I'm 150% down and okay with a rental. I think a rental makes so much sense for where the Lions are as an organization. You need someone that can come in, help you win a Super Bowl right now. And how do you increase your value as a player? Play on the biggest stage. Go to a contender. I mean, if you're going to play on a team and try and get a max deal, go play with the Lions in a state where you grew up, for a team that needs a player like you, and a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. Because, I mean, if they go out and win it, the Lions win a Super Bowl and you're a part of it, your legacy in
forever.
Detroit, it's already cemented. But in the league, you're going to have teams knocking on the door, giving you the money you want anyway if you come play well. I just think it's more enticing for both sides. I think it makes sense for both sides. I think from Judon's perspective, it makes a ton of sense. The Lions, the fit, where they are as an organization, it just, the culture, it couldn't be much of a fit. Couldn't be more. There is the Lions.
There's a side, and there's the people who are like, well, the Lions have Davenport, they have James Hughes, they're fine.
Oh, like, Jesus Christ!
But the thing is with that is, it's like, yeah, you have those guys, but you can always get better, and that is a move that gets you to a Super Bowl defensive line. Like, yeah, you still might be able, like, and I still think, like, hey, say they don't make the move, they're still going to go win the Super Bowl and compete for a Super Bowl. Like, I'm not saying if they don't make the move, the season's over. No, like, if they don't make the move, they're still competing for a Super Bowl. They're still a contender. But you can separate yourself even more from the other contenders if you make moves like that. Like, just because you have one of the best rosters in the NFL doesn't mean you can't add to it and even get better. Like, that's part of the game, is trying to separate yourselves from these other teams. Like, you want to get as far away from the 49ers as a roster as you can. Or if you think they're a little under them, you want to get as close as possible. Like, you have to do that. That is one of those moves that to be made. Yeah, you might have Davenport and Houston. Yeah, they might be able to still win the Super Bowl with those guys. That doesn't mean you can't get better. Like, you can get better at a position. It's the same thing for wide receiver for me.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you're lying to yourself and just trying to convince yourself that everything's going to be okay if you think that Marcus Davenport's the solution outside of Aiden Hutchinson. Marcus Davenport's never been a guy to steal the show as a player, let alone been able to stay healthy. So I think there is going to be some issues that arise with Marcus Davenport, but that's why you sign him for a one-year deal. But to Booner's point, like, if you can upgrade from Marcus Davenport or James Houston and you want to win a Super Bowl, then you absolutely do it. Even if I know he's not available, but Jeff always brought up Leonard Floyd. Even if it's for a player of that caliber that gets released in training camp, you go and get that guy, at least to bring him in and see how he looks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Steve Lehman says Lions could possibly have the number one offensive line and a top 10 defensive line. That's a Super Bowl, boys. I mean, we talk about this defense, and I went through it. This was I think about 2 months ago, might have been. I think it was in May. I might have made this video, but it was detailing the defensive line and the importance of that if you want to win a Super Bowl, and sack numbers every single year to teams that won the Super Bowl. I think quarterback play is undoubtedly, and we talked about the 3 pillars of success, head coach, quarterback, and GM, which are very important. But when you talk about the defense, what is super important is getting after the quarterback. And if the Lions get Judon, a double-digit sack guy, they're going to be up at the top of the NFL in sacks, which you face a team like the Chiefs.
Instantly.
How are you beating Mahomes? You got to get to him. I mean, you got to get to him. You face Burrow, you got to get to him. And Josh Allen, whoever it is, you get Lamar Jackson, you got to get to these guys. And Judon helps you do that. And I'm sorry, he's a better player than Houston. He's a better player than Davenport.
By far.
By both of them combined, he's better. I'm sorry. He's
one
had
season.
15 sacks in a year. I mean, he is unbelievable. Yeah. So it just makes sense. Trade him. He has 1 year left on his deal. Let it ride out. Let it ride out.
I would be interested to see like what's going on because he does want to leave like the contract situation. I wonder if that's a situation where he does want to trade and make sure there's an extension lined up. I don't know how.
But I
haven't heard.
I wonder if the other teams would give him that, like the Seahawks. Maybe the Seahawks.
I'm sure there are some teams who. I'm sure there's teams that are like in the future.
The Falcons probably would if they have the cap space. They would, especially with Raheem Morris. He's going to want to bulk up that defense. They don't really have anybody on that
Bears,
edge.
I think they spent a lot of their cap.
The Bears have spent a ton of money on defense too. Yeah, so like that's why I was shocked to see them because they've made a lot of moves on defense already. So the Lions do have a good amount of cap space that they've just been letting sit there as well. I think in case there's a situation or the rollover or whatever they want to do. I think Brad like knows like whether it's a trade deadline, whether it's now, like there's going to be an opportunity for us to upgrade our roster. And I don't know how much it is. I think he might have like 17 million left or something like that, but there's going to be an opportunity for him to upgrade the roster. Matthew Judon situation, I'm sure he has made calls. I'm sure they've talked with agents and like if they feel like they can extend him. And again, like to my point earlier, you extend Judon, say you do. Say he wants like a 2 or 3 year deal or whatever it is, because he's a little older coming off an injury. All right, you do that. Again, you have Hutch for the next however many years and Judon, like that duo for the next 2 or 3 years during your Super Bowl. Like, and then you have DJ Reader next year again. You can franchise tag Aleem. You can, extend Aleem. Like there's Brad. Let that man cook, please.
Let him cook. And we're going to talk about the defensive line because Pride of Detroit asked a question. They put out an article, who will be second on the Lions in sacks? And they have a poll they did on that article. I'm going to show you the results. Well, first I'll ask you. We'll show the results after. How about that? I'll ask you guys first. Chat, feel free to chime in. I'm going to go through comments as well. Who will be second on the team in sacks? We all assume that Aiden Hutchinson, rightfully so, will lead this team in sacks. And there'll be a pretty, in my opinion, pretty significant difference. I think he'll have like 15 and the next guy won't be close. But who is second on the Lions in sacks, fellas? Who's going to step up?
Klotz, you hit this one first, brother.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, I feel like it's obvious, and it's kind of to the reasons that we just spoke on as far as the edge. I think it should be Aleem McNeil. I would be shocked if it was not Aleem McNeil, especially the fact that you bring in DJ Reader. I think Aleem McNeil is a guy in a contract year. We've talked about potentially reaching 10 sacks. I don't know if he gets quite there. I think he probably gets around 7, 8, 9. He could easily get 10. But I think when you look at Marcus Davenport, he's not a guy that's really going to be getting after the passer that much. You're going to do that with James Houston, but he's going to be on a snap count. I think Davenport's probably going to get like 5, 6 sacks tops. Same thing with James Houston. You talk about Aleem McNeil, he's going to be on the field more than those guys, and he's going to be in between DJ Reader and Aiden Hutchinson pause, but he's going to be making a lot of plays, and I think he's going to be the guy that helps Aiden Hutchinson out with pressures the most.
What about you, Boone? Which way you leaning?
Can I make a statement here?
Go ahead, Boone.
I think whoever's going to be the second most on this team in sacks is not currently on this football team.
Okay, so
whether it's Matthew Judon or there's another edge rusher who wants to get out and they trade for, whether it's now or whether it's at the deadline, because I think even if it's at the deadline and say that guy has 5 or 6 sacks, I still count that like his total sacks for the year. I'm still going to count that as like throughout the year, like how many sacks does this guy have on the season? I think they make a move to add to this edge room. Because I think what may happen, and knock on wood, like I want these guys to stay healthy. But if you look at like the career of Marcus Davenport, I don't think he's played a season in his career yet where he's played in every single game throughout a season, or even like more than like 15. I think he had 15 as his highest, and then like 13 and 10 and like under that. So like I don't think you can say Marcus Davenport. I think Aleem, to Klotz's point, I think on the team currently, Aleem's probably the right pick. Like he should like. I think he had 4.5 or 5 last year, and he had injury. With DJ Reader, he should go out there and get 7, 8 plus. Like, I think that he does that. But if we're talking about, are they going to make a move or not? If I see them make a move from now into the trade deadline, I think it's going to be an edge rusher, just like the 49ers did with Chase Young last year. And I think that's going to end up being whoever that number 2 on this team.
This one. I actually do agree with that, Boone, because I'm on board of acquiring an edge. So I agree with that. But let's just take the acquisition part out of it. If this roster stays as it is currently, who will be second on the team in sacks? I'm going to go with James Houston. All right. I think James Houston will be second on the team in sacks because of a couple different reasons. He is an absolute menace in the pass game. I think he has that potential already. We've seen it. Has to prove it. But I think him being in the rotation, him having more help. I think we talk about the help that now Liam has with DJ Reader, and I 100% understand that. But I think it's also going to help James Houston. And I think James Houston could go out this year and get 8-9 sacks, and that would, to me, be second. I think I don't believe there's currently another player on this team besides Aiden that can get double-digit sacks. So if you're going to get 8-9 sacks, to me, that's second. And that's what I think Houston can do. So I'm going to go with James Houston with Aleem McNeil just following him.
All right. I love the confidence. I just don't think it'll fall through that way. But, hey, I'm not going to be complaining if it does.
I do think if James Houston stays healthy, that there's going to be a chance obviously not on track to what he did last year. But I do think that he's going to have, or 2 years ago, like the 7 games, 8 sacks, like one of the game is insane. But I think like if he's healthy for 17 games and if they put him in the correct position to be successful, like just go out there on third, like go out there and pass and just go get the quarterback. I think you could see like another like an 8 sack season from James Houston. Like I don't think anyone would be shocked to see 8 to 10 sacks.
I don't think James Houston is the answer. He is the problem. All right. But I don't know if he's, the answer. I think he's a very, very good option, but you want someone that can play more than just passing downs. And that's what I think that Judon can do. And he can get more sacks than James Houston. He's a better player, but we can't deny, James Houston sample size, dude, I don't think it'll be a sack a game for an entire season, but Lucas, we're banking on Aleem McNeil getting there.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of saw James Houston already do it. I did see that.
You did. But do you think you can see it consistently? I think you can have a flash in the pan. You only have that usually once or twice. I don't know if you get it twice. Like I said, I'd be happy, especially with him having a very extensive offseason because he pretty much didn't play at all last year. So all this time to recover gives him time to kind of put on some more weight, finesse, kind of finalize everything with his game, get it more polished. So if he comes into training camp, Jeff, I think you have a point. I just don't think it's going to be that way, but could I be wrong? Absolutely.
It stays healthy all year. I think like there's like, just got to stay healthy. And then if he stays healthy for 17 games, like I would not be shocked at the end of the season if you see 17 games played, 10 sacks. Like I would be like, all right, that's the product. Like he had 8 and 7 games, like 17 games. And I'm not going to be like I know last year there was a lot of people being like, oh, he's going to lead the team in sacks. Like, no, he's not going to come close to that, but he's going to have a productive year if he stays healthy. I think he is that type of player.
Well, look at the results. The results came in, and these are from fans voting. James Houston led with 38%. Marcus Davenport was second with 29%.
My God.
Aleem McNeil was actually third with 17%. And then Matthew Betts had more votes than Josh Pascal. That's where I'm I got to put my foot down here. All right, now you're attacking a player that I've been very fond of, and you're kind of pushing up a player that I'm quite frankly just don't believe in as much as other people do. So that kind of was a personal shot at me, I felt like. But this, to me, is I don't agree with it, but this is what the people are saying, boys.
Yeah, if we're being realistic, boys, John Kaminsky should be on this list over Matthew Betts. You could put Levi O over on this list. Like, Matthew Betts has not even taken a single snap for this team. He wasn't even – he's not a draft pick either. Put Mekhi Wingo up here. Like, Mekhi Wingo deserves to be on here more. Matthew Betts, I love the hype around him, but at the same time, guys, let's be real.
Can you scroll down? Others too.
Yeah, it's just
I thought I saw the 2. 2%. I thought maybe it said like 20 or something.
No,
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, well,
This is
that,
Jake Bates all over again.
yeah, the obsession with Matthew Betts. I mean, I get it. Good story, but no.
Guys seem like a bunch of haters.
I think Pascal, you call me whatever you like. I think Pascal will have more sacks than Matthew Betts. I'm not standing on that one.
Just a few haters over there. That's all.
If I'm a Matthew Betts hater, that's something I can happily be like, yeah, I was wrong, but I just don't think I'll be saying that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you'll I think you'll be very pleased by the end of the year with how you feel about Matthew Betts. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion.
Love to write your own narratives, Jeff, don't you?
Well, how about this narrative? The Lions to win the NFC North. You like that narrative? Once again, you like that narrative?
Well, do you have the full tweet there, Jeff?
I can pull it up.
You got to pull the full tweet up.
The most, I'll read it because then you can see the graphic. But FanDuel put out the most bet on team to win the NFC North this season, the Chicago Bears.
This is nuts.
At plus 330. So, although the Lions are favorites, the Chicago Bears have been bet on the most to win the NFC North.
I guess the only thing I can think of here, obviously the value, plus 330, whatever it is. Like, yeah, the value. Few things with it. Number one, you're not winning a division, especially the NFC North with the Packers and the Lions, with Matt Eberflus as your head coach. Like, you're just not doing. He's like one of the worst coaches in the NFL. I don't care if he's from Toledo. That man was ranked like 29th. He was ranked like 29th in the NFL head coaching ranking. So you're not winning a division, especially the NFC North, one of the best in the NFL, with Matt Eberflus your head. Also, rookie quarterback. I know CJ Stroud did what he did. You're in this division, and I just don't like Caleb Williams. Jeff, I'm sorry, but as coming into the season, he has a great setup around him. But some of the defenses he's going to have to go up against, it's like, hey, he's going to struggle a little bit. There's zero chance, and you guys can clip me saying this, the Bears win the division with rookie Caleb Williams and Matt Eberflus leading him. Zero chance, 0.0. No chance at all. I cannot. This is ridiculous.
Don't
People are just wasting their money. They're just you might as well just take the money and I don't know.
Speaking of money, you see what Vegas is saying though? Number one for coach of the year, Matt Eberflus.
Congrats. He's still not winning a division.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's no fucking chance that they do. They'll be third at the ceiling. I think they have some promise for the future, but as far as this year winning a division, absolutely no hope. The light at the end of the tunnel is a mirage. It's really not there. It's a white speckle on the wall. That's all it is. For the Bears to win the NFC North, there'd have to be major injuries to both the Lions and Packers. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know about winning the NFC North. You guys know
I
like Caleb. I like Caleb. I do. But winning the NFC North, a little aggressive. As a rookie to go out and win the NFC North, that would be more impressive than CJ Stroud, in my opinion, because of the division. Like, are you kidding me? Unless there's injuries, like Lucas said. But if they're healthy, I mean, that would be like historically great. He'd have to have a historically great season at quarterback, but also as a team for his rookie year for them to win the division. It's just not happening. Do I think they can be fine? Yes. Do I think they can give teams in the NFC North problems? Yes. But I think they'll compete. I don't think they're going to sweep the NFC North. The Lions, I think, will split with them. I think they could sweep the Vikings. I think the Bears will split with like every NFC North team, in my opinion. I think they'll split. I think maybe the Lions sweep them both times. Maybe they beat them both times. But I think they'll split with every team. But I have them winning like eight games. That's where I have the Bears at. And to win this division, you're going to have to win 12-13, and I don't see them doing that. No one on this planet, I think, sees that besides Adam Rank.
Yeah,
I mean,
he does every year though. They could have the worst roster in the NFL.
But other than that, Vikings, I think, are in a similar kind of tier. They got Sam Darnold. Yeah. I think they can be decent, like 7 games, 6 games, whatever. But they're in that Vikings tier, like battling for mid. I don't think they're battling for the division, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the Vikings, without a doubt, have a better head coach.
Oh yeah.
KOC, baby.
Yeah.
The Matt Eberflus thing, again, I will stick to it. Like, they should have fired him halfway through last year. They had the one game.
Fire him at the end of the year, regardless.
But that's the thing. It's like you should have done it. Like, why have another year where you're about to draft the number one quarterback and like a historic quarterback, like one of the best of all time out of a draft class, highly rated, and you're just gonna say, hey, let's just bring him in with the head coach that's going to be here for one more year, just because he won. Like he was on his way out, and I can't remember what game it was, but they went on the road to play somewhere. It was like Monday night or Thursday night football, and they were like, if they lose this game, he's gone. And they miraculously win this game. I remember I was driving home from doing a show, and they somehow way won the game.
Tyler Badgett, baby.
Yeah, saved his job, and now he's there for another year, and he's going to be gone next year. And you're going to have to, your rookie quarterback's going to have to learn from someone else. It's
my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory around that is, okay, so if you're Ryan Poles, you keep Flus around for another year. Let's say that Caleb Williams struggles. They could be like, well, we got a clear office. They're like, oh no, let's get rid of the head coach. Let's bring in a new head coach. And if that new head coach has even more success, then Ryan Poles is probably there for another 4 years at the minimum. Because, I mean, the acquisitions that he's brought in, you can't really say that he hasn't done anything. I know he's missed a couple with the first round, but you look at the trades that he's made, and then especially like drafting guys like Jalen Johnson, he's done his job. I don't even think he drafted Jalen Johnson. I take that back. But you just look at the free agency, and just the people that he brought in outside of Justin Fields, he's hit a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate that little tinfoil hat theory. I mean, I think that makes I think it makes some sense. I mean, you keep Eberflus, and then if Caleb struggles, you're like, well, it's him. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
You hire his coach and then he struggles. It's like, well, fuck. I drafted that quarterback and I hired that coach. Mm-hmm. So but what was we had our guy on here. Man, now I feel bad.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh my gosh, what was his name? This is bad.
This is not.
We had a
Bears reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, that's disrespectful.
We should get him back on.
Great guy. I think I want to say Cole. No.
Either way, Bears reporter. Yeah.
Okay.
You're putting yourself in a hole. You're putting yourself in a hole here, Jeff.
Great guy. He said the locker room bought into Eberflus. I'm like, well, and that happens. I get it, but geez, man. Yeah, I'm not. I think he's fired by the end of the season. I see ETN. It's a sick joke, but plot twist: Eberflus gets fired and they hire Ben Johnson. Well, that's not. It's not visible.
I don't think, and I know it sounds like cliche to say because money talks in the NFL, but I honestly think that none of the coaches that are on the Detroit Lions roster right now or coaching staff will go on to coach for another NFC North team. I really don't. I don't see that happening. Like even Deuce Staley, like he stayed in the NFC, but he went to the Eagles. He didn't stay in the NFC North. I just think there's too much. You talk about the camaraderie with this team in this locker room, and I think it extends outside into decisions like that. Like Ben's not going to want to go and try to beat Dan twice a year and go win a Super Bowl and try to go beat Jared. Like he loves this locker room. That's why he's staying here. He's not going to go to one of the rivals in this division, in my opinion. I would be absolutely shocked if he were.
Yeah, I would too. I would too.
If
it's a good situation, but I'd be.
That's
shocked.
the thing. To me, it's I get that, but again, in the NFL, it's. Your weight, like Ben's proved the last 2 years that he's not just going into any situation. And if the Bears, like if Caleb Williams ends up being who we thought Caleb Williams could be, and they have those receivers and they have, they're building I wouldn't say a great offense line, but an offense, they're putting something together. They have a good defense. He's probably like, hey, this is a really good situation to go into. And I've been waiting for the right situation, ownership, everything. Maybe the ownership isn't the best, but
ownership in the franchise history is piss poor. I think if you look at Buffalo, like you guys have said before, you look at the quarterback and you just look at the recent success compared to the longevity of the teams in that division winning. Like Miami, Tyreek's only going to be there so much longer. They're probably going to move off of Tua, and if they re-sign him, they're not going to be winning anything anytime soon. Aaron Rodgers' days in New York are numbered, in the Patriots, well, they're just rebuilding. So if he goes to Buffalo right now, you add a receiver and a couple DBs, Ben Johnson's going to be succeeding. There's still a lot of question marks in Chicago. They've never had a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns.
Yeah, which for him though, that's like hey, I can go do that. I can make this happen.
Why? When you could go,
no, I get that.
You get Josh Allen. You get Josh Allen, Booner.
Yeah, that's a hell of a pitch.
It depends on what's open and when he wants to leave. Like that's all it comes down to. I'm not saying it's like never going to happen. I'm not the NFC North thing. Him going from NFC North to NFC North. I wouldn't, at least me, I'm not going to use that. Like, what if a perfect situation, the Packers opens up and you have a Jordan Love and, all these young receivers. You're like,
see that?
I'm all right. I don't want to go
out of there.
You're like, I don't want to do it. Like, no, like I think Ben would be like, yeah, I would take that job.
Yeah, it's like different, but same, like in theory, Dan Quinn going to the Commanders. Like, I guess, is that? I mean,
it's exactly the same.
But he's not like a young.
You know where he'll go? the Jaguars will miss the playoffs this year. Doug Peterson will get fired,
No.
and he'll go coach up Trevor Lawrence. That would be a good combo. There you go.
He's going to
Jeff.
end up in Buffalo. He's ended up in Buffalo.
And that's where I honestly hope he ends up, because I wouldn't mind if Buffalo were to be really good. Like, I know I'm a Joe Burrow fan and all that, but I would love to see Josh Allen go win the ring.
Think about it from Buffalo's perspective. You had to go and battle Andy Reid, like the greatest offensive mind in the NFL. And I think the Bills are going to stink, and therefore they're going to fire Sean McDermott. And why not get the best up and coming offensive mind to go head to head with Andy Reid?
And you guys think too, by the way, you guys are like, oh, Booner, they're not going to fire Sean McDermott if you think they're going to be good. No, Buffalo was at a point, and you see this with the NFL teams quite more often than you think. Like, look at Doug Peterson in Philly. Like, you're at a point where, yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but it's like once you get to a certain point where you're like, hey, we just keep winning divisions and we can't get past this hump. Like, whether they win the division this year and go win a playoff game or lose in the first round, unless they go win a Super Bowl this year or get into an AFC Championship game, Buffalo's sitting there and they're like, their ownership and their GM should be like, I know we're in a little bit of a small rebuild, but we still have pieces to compete. What are we doing here? Like, we have to get over this hump at some point. You have to evaluate all options. Part of those options is Sean McDermott. Like, if you come up short again, I don't care if you're in the playoffs or not. You look at your head coach and you go, hey, we've been trying this for 5 or 6 years now, and you have a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Either you get it together, or we have to go get Ben Johnson, someone who will help him win football games and win a Super Bowl. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, I think Sean McDermott, I don't care who they got rid of their defense. You have to go in this year being like, hey, we have to go win a Super Bowl, or my job's on the line. And as crazy as that sounds,
They
but
win a no bowl. That roster,
but like,
no bowl.
If you're sitting there and you're like, dude, we've been just at this line for the last 5 years, and we can't break this line. You have to make a change, and it starts from the top. Like, that's just a fact. That's a fact. It's a Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl and got fired a couple years later. Like, that is a fact. You cannot be average at certain points.
Hey, this is a good question. Tyler asked, why are 75% of coaches named Sean?
Sean McVay, Sean Payton, Sean McDermott.
Trying to think of any more.
There's someone out there.
Sean Brown. I don't know. That was just a
Brown.
name.
Sean Combs.
Yeah, Sean Kingston. I mean, there's a lot of guys named Sean.
Yo, whoa, hey, yo. Ooh, no, did he?
Don't sleep on him. Yep. I mean, it is kind of it is kind of true to some extent. Parker Brown.
Shout out Parker. Oh, Parker. Let's go, Parker.
Much love to you, Parker. Appreciate you. Sean Paul. Yeah, I mean, hey, Sean Paul.
Sean Paul.
Hey, produced some hits in his day. Sean Paul, certified.
Certified hit maker. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. Tyler says taking a head coaching job without a quarterback is like running into a parking meter nuts first.
It's an interesting metaphor, but or it'd be simile. Oh, it'd be metaphor. Wait, no. Simile. He used like or as.
Wow.
Either way, I had to break it down to some third grade English there. But I mean, yeah, look at me piecing things together. It finally clicked after 22 years. I know what metaphors and similes the difference are. But yeah,
I don't know any of that stuff, dude. I'm not gonna lie. English, I know that's our language. But people always make fun of that. Oh, English is our language. You should know it. No, like grammar and stuff, that's not an English language. That's just like grammar. That stuff is brutal, dude. Metaphors and simile, or
I believe that's what you think, Boone. I believe
it's crazy. Metaphors, all that stuff. I don't know what any of that stuff is, dude.
Get your mailbag questions ready. It's not.
Should do an English class.
We'll answer. I would love. Yeah, you as a teacher. Yeah,
there's zero chance I'd ever be a teacher, dude.
Yeah, for the future of our country, I'd hope that's the case too.
Do you want
to be watching film?
Do you want this man educating the next great?
I've got a college degree
of the United States of America.
I've got a college degree.
Well, a lot of people do.
Business and finance.
Teach you some finance, Boone?
If you want.
Run my books for me?
Boone, I know you've met some people that have college degrees, and I'm not saying you're this, but that are just not.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I am a little bit of a goofball, but I'm locked in on I can.
Oh yeah, you're not. Hey,
I'm a smart guy.
He's a number cruncher. He's a math guy.
I am, but like I'm mentally, I'm a smart guy. I say this all the time. People make fun of me but people make fun of me and come at me sometimes. I got to where I am for a reason. Like I strategically, you guys know this, getting a show, doing different things, that's strategy. On the back end, like I watched the show Suits. You guys ever seen that? Strategy. Like as a lawyer, like making your moves, doing certain things at the right times. Strategy. There's a reason I got to the position I am in my career. I'm a smart guy. Trying to out strategize me.
Boone's having his Doc moment right now.
Shout out Doc, baby.
Later, X420 says, "Who wants that work in NCAA?" How about you, Booner?
What I'll do is when I start streaming, I'll stream for a couple. What I'll do is I'll stream for a couple weeks and I'll build up some stuff and learn, and I'll stream with the people. And then what we'll start doing is maybe we'll do some contests or something, and I'll play some people from the chat, and we'll do that. That'll be part of it.
Hey, run some Madden. I don't know if you guys want that.
Can we? Does it do cross-platform?
I don't know. I hope so because
you better hope it doesn't.
No, you better hope it doesn't.
I don't even think I have the new Madden though. I don't have the new Madden. Yeah, we have had some battles. We have.
Klotzy, we have Booner.
I'll never be the Steelers again.
I think Booner's more. I think Booner's will fit. He'll fit better in the NCAA. I think.
You're just saying that was a nice way of saying Booner is trash at Madden.
I think. Booner, you would even I think admit that we play.
Yeah, dude, Madden's like too it's gotten bad.
Well, yeah, it's not.
It's the same game. That and 2K, they haven't changed since 2018.
But like even in 2K, like 2K is like gradually it's just gotten harder to where it's like it's harder to shoot in 2K now. Like it's just
it's so bad.
And it's the same with Madden. Like as the years have gone on, they've tried to make it like so realistic to where it's like, dude, this is just like unless you just play it every day, you're not going to get good at it.
Sticks after 2 years and was just fine, Booner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave me a tough
I think I beat Klotzy one night too, by the way. So we don't need to get into that.
Hey,
I think you did maybe one time.
Yeah, I have my moments.
Some would say, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. You know what I mean?
True.
What gets me is the defensive side of the ball, dude. I cannot figure out defense.
Yeah, it's tough.
You have to do audible and all this, and I don't even know the controls, dude. I just know tackle and go. And
I do hate playing on PlayStation, though. I get the buttons all confused.
Yeah, people are saying it's cross-platform, so we'll be able to. Maybe we could do like a group stream. I don't know. We could I don't know.
We definitely got to do that. That'd be a good time.
Could we play? I wish they had it, and I don't know if this is true. They have this. I don't even think they have this. But if we can play like on the same like college roster, like that.
Well, no, what we could do is they have in the new college game. What they have is they have like a dynasty mode to where we can make our own conferences, and you can get like 10 teams, 15 teams, 20 teams, and we can all join the same conference, and we actually play like a season together.
That's what we're doing, man.
We can get like listeners and put listeners, and we can have people join, and we can stream. What you're saying is and you build up dynasties.
Klotzy will have Ohio State.
You can take Purdue.
No, I'll take Iowa. I want.
No, you can take. No, somebody better take Oregon. That team is nasty.
The Big Ten.
Wait, yeah. What? No, USC. I'm taking.
There you go. Yeah. So like we can do that, and we can actually
that is the most Jeff college to pick I have ever heard in my life. USC.
Hey, don't Lincoln Riley.
Oh boy.
Wait till I get promoted. You gonna learn.
You got to recruit a whole defense, pal.
We will play. We'll set it up. I need to get a new system first. I got to figure this out. I got to get a system in the game. Lock in.
What about the people? If Booner's looking for a system, PS5 or Xbox, what would it be?
If you guys suggestions on Xbox, because I have all my games on Xbox, I don't want to lose all my games, so I'm sticking with that.
I've always had PlayStation. I love it, so I don't really want to weigh in. I'm biased on this a little bit.
I don't want to lose my game. I spent so much money on Xbox games. I'm not trying to lose every single game I have.
Yeah, I get that.
But if someone knows like a deal, or someone knows someone who's selling an Xbox that like isn't like trash,
yeah, I need to get one too, Boone.
Please let me know.
We can look together.
Yeah, I need to get something pretty soon here.
I mean, Steve says Xbox. I've got both. I like Xbox over PS5. Kenji says,
Steve.
shit, I get both. I do.
Hey,
shout out Kenji. That's a boss move. You guys have both. Steve.
I just need something cheap and quick. That's it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you do, Boone.
So someone DM me on Twitter. DM me some options.
DM Booner. He needs something cheap and quick. That's what he wants. DM it on Twitter.
Well, I think
As soon as I get
you're interested.
I'm
sorry, Jeff.
I think you know a massage parlor if he's interested.
Whoa, boys. Take it. No. I'm not doing this.
Hey, Klotz hasn't been there in a while. Right?
No, we're not doing this. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
We're not doing this.
Good job, Boone.
I was told.
Why you lead the path,
Jeff? I know you were off for a few days. You're not on vacation anymore. You lock in, brother.
All right, lock in.
And by the way, we have 77 people in here. Everyone hit the like button for us. Let's do some mailbag. Everyone drop some questions for us.
We are in the dead of July, fellas.
Well, let's not do this. Let's not steal an Xbox for me. I don't want stolen Xboxes. We don't want to do that.
Well, we could just go right at Target or something.
Not doing that. Nope. No Klotz.
Yeah, I mean, I got mine at Best Buy. I mean, at Best Buy, usually they got you. They got pretty good deals going for them.
I just need a good deal.
I mean,
and then as soon as I get that,
I'm Gentry got Xboxes. I mean,
dude, the PS5s are like $500 compared to like a $200 Xbox.
If I get the new NCAA for the Xbox One, will it work for cross-platform?
No, you can't play the game at all on Xbox One.
Oh, that's.
I tried to get it today.
Very woke of Microsoft. Very woke.
Kind of smart. Now they're making people have to.
Yeah, I know. Like, Jesus Christ, can we just play the game? I don't need to buy a new console. Like, I would love to just be able to play the game.
Me too.
Yeah.
I should be streaming. I should get off this right now and go straight to streaming.
Whatever the game I love. I used to be able to play it on Xbox 360 even when the Xbox One was out.
Diggity Dog says, Mailbag, sorry if you've covered this before, but what are your game day plans for the season? Pre-game, watch party, post-game.
They will be downtown somewhere too. I don't know where yet.
I'll be down on the streets before all the games too, getting content.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys hop out there.
There'll be 17 games. We'll have all of that. And then sometimes I think Klotz and Gentry might be going to like Indy or different places as well.
Yeah, if you want to hit some away games.
I'll be down there. I'm sure Jeff will be there 17 games as well, but we'll have a bar. I don't know what bar we're doing yet. We need to get that one figured out before other people book them, but it should be good to get something up.
Derek Lash's Mailbag training camp tickets are rumored to be available tomorrow. Who's going? Well, we will all be there.
10 a.m.
Yep.
Bright and
we will all
early.
be there.
I can't
we got to
remember
see
the
him on the
dates.
pad this year too, fellas. We missed out on the padded days.
Yeah, I have 3 dates here for us to go. That I took 3 days off of work. So I'll have to get those dates tomorrow so we can get those tickets.
Derek Lash, I will take you up on this offer happily.
Gentry
will be on the way up there. Yep. I'll take that offer up easily.
Shout out Derek Lash. That's a real one right there. I see Jeff Olson Smash Bros all over all these games.
Smash Bros is a good one.
I used to get
I never got into that stage. Really didn't.
I had a stage where we were grinding Smash Bros.
I love the old games. Tony Hawk.
GoldenEye.
I used to remember
007 went crazy, Booner. You're not lying there. That game was
GoldenEye.
The loading screen.
The 64, dude. I remember growing up, like as a kid, all we had was the 64, and then after that, it was the PlayStation, just the original PlayStation, the little gray box. The best, dude.
Top to the top.
I wish I had every system here, and I could just whenever I wanted to play any of those games.
Was it Vice or was it Vice City? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
That game was
great.
One.
Hey, I will say Grand Theft Auto is probably my favorite series of all time.
Like when you say the Ohio State University, the Grand Theft
like
Auto.
San Andreas was like my first well, Vice City. But that was like my first
Halo Reach or just Halo in general. Halo in general are bomb.
Halo 3 was my siblings. Me and my siblings would play Halo 3 for years, just for hours, dude.
Yeah, Halo is it's up there. I played a lot of Halo too.
Black Ops. Ooh. All right, we're getting into these games, so we're turning.
Yeah, it's crazy how like times games continue to come out. I mean, Call of Duty is on like its 15th game, and it's just like all the great years. I think the prime years of Call of Duty, I think, are over, in my opinion.
Yeah, they just need to come out with a new game.
Yeah,
it's like movies. I feel like an old head talking like this right now.
Yeah, well,
I feel like an old head.
Well, hey, time flies. Time flies, and that's why it's already 10 o'clock. Time has flown today, and we appreciate all of you for tuning in. Don't forget to share the stream if you like
Click
it.
the like button.
Subscribe. We're almost at 8. We're trying to get to 8,500 before we get to 9.5 to get to 10,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
But until then, we appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there. Tomorrow we'll be back 8 o'clock to 10 p.m. Until then, we'll catch you.
Peace.
We'll see you.
Peace.